Hello, everybody. Welcome to Catholic Christian. I have a very special guest with me today, Ash Mays. Ash, how are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. Pretty tired, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, Ash is a hard worker. He's from the tribe of Asher.
That's not true.
That's not true. But your full name is Asher after the tribe or the son of
Correct.
Jacob, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were a practicing Jew. Your religion was Judaism, correct?
Correct. I grew up in the Chabad, Lubavitch Hasidic community, and I was an Orthodox Jew most of my life. Yeah, fun times.
Yeah. And you're fluent in Hebrew, correct?
Yeah.
Shalom.
Shalom. Manishma.
Manishma. Mahayam.
Manishma is like, what's up? Like
Adonai, or is that Greek? No, Adonai is Lord in Hebrew, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You got it.
Bro.
Look at that.
I'm fluent in Hebrew. So Ash, thank you so much for coming on the stream tonight. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's cut to the chase here. Maybe we should talk first about your conversion story a little bit, right? To give people some context and background. And then we'll get into the YouTube channel debacle and what happened there.
It's actually a much smaller story, but we can definitely.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
So, well, before all that, do you remember how you and I met, or how we came our paths crossed?
I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw my face on a thumbnail that wasn't one of my videos for the first time. I've seen that a lot of times since then in very bad context. Somebody AI'd me recently. I saw just like a thumbnail of me shirtless.
What?
Like with a toga on or something. Like, I don't even want to watch that, whatever they're talking about. But
oh man,
yeah, there's some crazy people out there. But I saw my face on the thing and it's like something about guy doesn't know about Eastern Orthodox versus Catholic or something like that. And I was like, I never said in the video that I made that I was thinking of being Eastern Orthodox. That was never a thing. But basically I had made a video because people were asking, are you converting to Christianity? Do you believe in Christianity? What denomination are you going to be? And I basically put out a video just saying like, these are my thoughts on the various denominations. There is none that seems correct to me except the Catholic Church, but I have this and this and this issue, which is why I have not converted yet. And so you made a video about that. I didn't watch like what you had been talking about prior, but then I popped on your stream. I was like, hey, what's up? That's about me, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was great because I had no idea who you were. A member of mine or a subscriber, I can't remember, actually forwarded your video, that one video you were alluding to, kind of your journey. Like, you discover that Christianity is true. Okay, now what? Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, even though you mentioned in the video that you were leaning towards Catholicism.
Right.
And now you are confirmed and practicing Eastern Catholic?
Not confirmed. We're catechumens in one of the Byzantine Rite churches. So we're going through the learning process there, and probably this Easter baptism and all that.
Okay, good. So you're in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So an Eastern Rite catechumen. Now, you probably haven't gone through OCIA.
No, we're not doing that.
Right, because that's Western. But so would you know the differences between the two? Because I know Eastern Orthodox catechumens, it's like 1 to 3 years of formation and catechesis.
So it depends. Like, there are people. So we're going through, like, our teacher right now for catechesis is a subdeacon in the church, who's a seminarian. He's going to be ordained at some point, and he's teaching us. He was Eastern Orthodox for like 12 years or something like that before he became Catholic. Our priest was actually Eastern Orthodox for like 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, and then became Catholic.
I wonder why. I should get him on the channel.
He's a cool dude. He's a very cool dude. He's been everywhere. Like, intense fella.
He doesn't have an online presence, does he?
Not at all. Not even a little tiny bit.
Okay. It's probably deliberate. We'll keep it that way. Maybe I won't ask him, but yeah, no, it was great meeting you virtually. And then seeing you coming on to some of the streams and just seeing your channel grow. So you started a YouTube channel. Was it about a year ago?
So I had the channel for like a couple years, and I was doing just whatever was funny to me or interesting for the day, basically. Like I would do sketches, like playing all the roles and like putting those up. And what's funny is that that was just kind of what I was doing, philosophy, a little bit here and there, serious stuff. One of my videos talking about communism, like different things. And part of the story here that's pretty significant, but I actually interviewed Rabbi Tuvia Singer, who's like one of the most prolific Christian hating, um, anti-Christian polemicists like in the public sphere. It was actually that interview that I did with him that pushed me back, like reopened my interest in in becoming Christian. It
Wow.
took a long time, but it was basically I had first read the gospel, been very interested, but then came to all these kind of issues that I had with how it lined up with what I knew about the Old Testament, like the Hebrew Bible, obviously viewing that through a very distorted lens. But I interviewed him because people were like, "Oh, the same issues that you're mentioning, like this rabbi's talking about, you should chat with him." And I didn't find him particularly interesting. And when I tried to press him on Jewish things, he refused to go there in the conversation. It was just rhetoric about Christianity and the church. And at one point, he started talking about like how people only become Christian from Judaism because they have like emotional issues or they have drug problems. And he's mostly talking like to about evangelical like movement type stuff where there
Hmm.
is quite a bit of that. But most of my friends who had become Christian, Protestant, Catholic, or otherwise, um, the vast majority of them were unrelated to that topic. And I myself, being curious about Christianity, didn't fall into any of those categories. So I felt he was being very disingenuous. Um, and just lying throughout the conversation. So I felt the need to reopen my investigation, which took a number of years after that. But
Yeah. So you would say that situation with that rabbi and that discourse was that like kind of the one criterion, or not criterion, but the one thing that really prompted you to research Christianity?
no, that was what reopened my interest. So maybe going back to the beginning here, and for anyone who's heard me talk about this even a little bit, apologize for the repetition, but um, basically, so I have, well, when was it? It was like summer of 2020 during COVID lockdowns. Um, I was working a lot. Like my job was like essential services in Israel. Um, like we had some pretty serious lockdowns, but I was basically working 14 some hours a day in security work. And it was during that time period that I was very religious. Like I was the gabbai of my shul, um, which like if those words were gibberish to you, that is the person at the synagogue that calls people up to the Torah reading on the Sabbath, kind of organizes the prayer service, that kind of thing. Um, I was studying very regularly, like I did throughout my teen years and my early adult life. In the army, I didn't have as much time, but um, basically just very religious. What happened was, though, at work specifically, I started encountering some people that I thought were very devoutly religious, who were suddenly I noticed because I never worked on the Sabbath, even though we were allowed to, because we had like a basically like a it's called a heter, like a permission to work on the Sabbath, because it's for anything that's related to protecting human life or anything like that. You can do on the Sabbath. I just never chose to do that. I
Mm.
avoided it anyways. I just didn't take those shifts. But essentially I started working mandatory because of the hours on the Sabbath, and there was people that I thought were very devout that were using every loophole in the book to be able to like use their phones throughout their shift and like which I don't know how to put this into terms without like talking about security work too much, but you're not supposed to be doing that anyways in security work. But all the more so on the Sabbath when you're not supposed to be using electronics, not supposed to be doing things of the weekday and so on. And they were using like every loophole. So you're allowed to use the radio on the Sabbath because it's essential, but you don't necessarily have to use your phone. But then they would use their phone to get communications and stuff like that. And then once they were on their phone, they'd start watching like YouTube videos at work.
Interesting.
Um, and so I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, you know, and I realized that basically there was that led to a bunch of other things that I investigated that was like a ton of just hypocrisy. Like, like when Jesus is talking to the Pharisees in the New Testament, it's literally the same thing. It's
I
like,
I was just thinking
nothing has
about
changed in
that.
2000 years.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but what happened then was in those conversations, I don't remember the exact series of events, but I ended up having a bunch of really like brutally vicious conversations with 3 or 4 people at work and then another outside of work about abortion, which I did not realize was as prevalent as it was in the Orthodox Jewish world and in Israel in general.
Prevalent how?
So, you know, the October 7th massacre,
Heard of it, yeah.
right? Like when Hamas invaded Israel and killed like 1,200 people, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So, people, that's really tragic and that's terrible, but the Israeli people themselves do that to their own babies to a 20 times amount yearly.
Oh my.
Right? That's the number of aborted babies in Israel on a yearly basis. And unfortunately, you'd think that this would be the opposite, but it's majority Orthodox Jews in the Israeli community,
Why
more so
is
than
that?
secular.
I mean,
Um,
you can appeal to natural law, right? Just their consciences, but I mean, they're Orthodox Jews and they're performing abortions?
so so Jewish ethics, like from Torah ethics, would tell you that it's wrong. And so that is ingrained in Jewish society, even to the secular side of things. But it's in the Orthodox community that having babies before marriage is shunned and frowned upon. And so that's where a lot of that is coming from.
So the abortions are happening with women who engage in fornication before,
Exactly. A
before
lot of the
marriage.
time. Or like abuse situations, incest, things like that that are happening in certain like ultra Orthodox Haredi communities. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of that too. So that's kind of where that comes from because Jewish ethics would tell you that it's wrong, that it's a bad thing, that abortion is bad, right? All of the major like halachic, like religious opinions predating the modern era would agree that that's a terrible thing. So it's not like Judaism allows for abortion.
Right.
Um, it's a very modern thing that rabbis are permitting it and so on. But so I got into those conversations with some people, and I was like, I've always been like really, really against abortion. And there was religious people that were trying to justify all kinds of reasons for it to me. Um, in one case, I actually had like a conversation with like not as good of a friend of mine, but a friend of a friend, and my friend heard the conversation and was like to the other one, "Wait a second, you think abortion is okay?" And they've stopped being friends since then as well, because he's like me, very hard line on that. It's like if you have a certain view on ethics that deviates from what I think is reasonable, I don't know what we're talking about. Like what it's not like I can't be friends with you, but it's what's it for, right? Um, like we don't agree on the fundamentals of morality, so I don't know what you're going to do in the future at any point. It's not worth it for me to get into that. But so that was like the final tipping point where I was like, I'm done with the Jewish community as far as like participating religiously. Um, so there was like deteriorated a little bit as far as my own observance of like Jewish law and custom. Um, had some ups and downs with that as far as like what I did keep, what I didn't keep. Like I kept doing like the morning prayer service with like the phylacteries, and then after I got married, like with the prayer shawl and everything like that.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah,
The phylacteries, guys, we know about those from Christ admonishing the Pharisees, right?
because they
So,
made their phylacteries wide
so
and were showing
now
off.
I'm gonna just correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But I feel kind of like I know what those are. Those are like the wooden boxes that were wrapped around their
Leather boxes, yeah,
or leather, yeah. I mean, potato, but yeah, leather boxes
yeah.
that were wrapped around their arms, and inside those leather boxes, uh, was it the shoot? Help me out. What was inside of those?
So inside of the and somebody saying in the chat that you're loud and I'm quiet. Is this better? Is that better?
I'm
Anyone?
loud. Here, I can tone it down a little bit.
But basically, it's boxes made of leather, and then it's parchment. Everything has to be from like cow skin, basically. Um,
Kosher.
yeah, kosher animal has to be slaughtered properly. like you would do for food or for sacrifices, that kind of thing. And also has to be written by a trained scribe who does the letters properly and the whole thing. And there's basically 4 pieces of parchment inside in little compartments. The whole thing is made out of leather. And they have passages of like the Shema, like the passages that talk about it basically in the Hebrew scriptures.
The oh Israel, the Lord, or the
Yeah.
God, love God with all
Like,
your
and
heart.
then the whole like passages following that basically about the phylacteries, about tzitzit, about all that stuff, all in various iterations. And then there's different opinions on the order of them. Different groups of Jews put on like different versions of it. So in Chabad, we actually would put them on and then take them off after the prayer service and do a second pair, just in case, kind of thing. Very legalistic and ritualistic, but essentially I was still doing that every morning, still praying for years afterwards. So I kept up my own like personal observance of things, but I mostly gave up like traditional Jewish observance at that point.
Even observing the Sabbath,
Yeah, like everything.
because I mean that isn't observing the Sabbath kind of like the core of
Yeah, like
Orthodox
Sabbath,
Judaism?
like today in modern Orthodox. When I say modern Orthodox, I want to be careful because people are gonna think I'm mean one thing and not the other. There's something called modern Orthodox, which is like more mainstream, less extreme Judaism. It's called modern Orthodox. When I say modern, I mean the modern Orthodox world in general. So
Like
ultra Orthodox,
evangelical Pharisees.
basically, something like that. But essentially, in the modern Jewish world, you're kind of considered an Orthodox Jew in the basic sense if you keep the Sabbath and keep kosher, basically. Certain other things that go with that, but essentially that's like the core elements. And then everything beyond that is like, are you ultra Orthodox? Are you Haredi? Are you kind of, you know? So I wasn't keeping I wasn't keeping anything at that point. It was around that time that I met my wife, and she was going through a similar kind of process.
Really?
Hard to say who was more religious or observant at that time, me or her, but kind of going through it at the same time. Kind of worked out perfectly in that sense. But about the same time that that was all happening, I had met through different groups of people. I had one friend who was like a Messianic Jewish guy, basically a form of evangelical Christian. But I met this other group of people. One of them became like a mentor to me, not in a religious sense, more in like a personal, like life in general, training, stuff like that, martial arts, like all kinds of different things, kind of like an adoptive uncle sort of. And he was from a Messianic Jewish community. They're a very learned guy, friend of a bunch of Bible scholar people and all kinds of stuff like that. And somebody was telling me like, oh, you shouldn't hang out with that group. They're Messianic Jews. They're going to try to convert you. And I was like, nobody, like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what they believe. Like, it's not my business.
Mm-hmm.
But getting to know him, I had asked him like, oh, I hear you guys are like Messianic. He's like, yeah, we're believers in Jesus. And I was like, oh, can you tell me a little bit about that? And so we went and got a bite to eat. We sat down. He was showing me all the prophecies that they believe points to Jesus and so on. I was like, oh, I can see why you believe that. I don't find it particularly compelling, but good for you. Like, that's great. Wasn't bothered by it. Didn't have a particular stance on it. He gave me a Bible, like a full Bible with the New Testament, as a wedding gift. And I remember distinctly, my wife and I had read, like we opened it up and we were looking at it, and we read something from Corinthians, which was pretty cool. And then we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then we closed it, never opened it again. It stayed on a shelf in Israel.
What may I ask? What translation was it? Protestant Bible, Catholic, or?
I remember now, like distinctly, I read like what it was. So it was like a Masoretic text, Hebrew for the Old Testament with NASB translation, and then for the New Testament, it was NASB with like a modern Hebrew to Hebrew translation for Israelis, basically.
Okay.
So kind of the reverse on each side, but. So that stayed on a bookshelf because we left Israel to visit the United States and didn't end up going back. So we kind of left our apartment there and never went back.
Real quick,
Yeah.
quick. You were born in Israel.
I was born in Canada.
Sorry, born in Canada but raised in Israel.
I immigrated to Israel in my early adult life on my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your ethnicity is Jewish or no?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Very, very much so.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to make sure. I wanted to kind of connect the dots here.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I was raised in the Chabad community in Toronto, in Canada.
oh,
But
okay.
yeah,
Okay. Nice.
my Jewishness, for all the people that say Ash is not a real Jew, that's why he's trying to deceive people. My one of my ancestors was a guy named Mar Ukba, who was ninth century exilarch of the Jews in Babylon. That's like the king of the Jews in exile.
Wow.
So and then on my mom's side, like Levites, um, so like
Really?
from like the Levitical priesthood.
That's crazy.
So like my mom's dad was a Levite.
Did you
So
guys do like a 23 and me? Sorry.
I've done those just to verify a bunch of things that I've been told in stories, and it's like one to one. Like it's like it just lines up perfectly. Like I can tell exactly. Like they're like, oh, this many generations back, there's somebody with this random thing that you wouldn't have guessed, and I'm like, oh, I heard that. Like that's family stories. Like that makes sense.
Wow. What if
So
I
that's pretty
have just
cool.
like a little bit in my blood
Of
Jewish?
Jewish. So,
Just a
in
little.
order to be considered Jewish by the modern Jewish standards, when I say modern, I mean second century Rabbi Akiva and onwards, you'd have to be born to a Jewish mother or converted through a rabbinic process.
Okay. Okay.
Which is
So,
crazy because there's groups of exiles who we can identify are very likely Jews who were exiled during the first temple period, like when the 10 tribes were carried away. And when they immigrate to Israel, they're made to do rabbinic conversion to Judaism because it's like we don't believe you and you're not rabbinic Jews. So it's like it's kind of nasty. But yeah, as far as like Judaism goes, like I'm through and through. Like
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you. So you were saying you visited the United States.
Yeah, so my wife is originally from the United States. She's also from a Jewish family. Her family became religious like when she was like 7 or 8 years old.
Hmm.
But she grew up basically. She went to a prestigious like religious girls' school in Israel. Immigrated there also. But we went to visit family. Got stuck during COVID, series of events, a whole kind of bunch of stuff, and then made it back briefly. Came back for another visit, and then permanently decided to stay. Um, and then we just kind of left things there because it was like an impromptu decision. Like we didn't know we were going to stay. Um, so once we decided to stay in the United States, I was very interested to learn about like the politics that were going on because there was like a lot of heated stuff
Imagine
and
that.
at the time. And I was like, what the heck did I just walk into? I'm talking about like I went to like when we first decided to stay, we had nothing. Like we literally had nothing. I was like carrying clothes in bags to a laundromat to go like clean our clothes.
Wow.
Um, and so like I overheard like a fight about like Donald Trump and Biden in a laundromat that almost turned into like a shootout. Like so I was like, what the hell am I walking into?
Dude. Welcome to the United
Um,
States, Ash.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And so I started listening to political podcasts to try to get a feel for things. And I knew Steven Crowder from like comedy stuff
Mhm.
a little bit, but I never listened to like anything about politics. So I listened to him a little bit, but he's not as funny on audio as he is on video because he has like a whole show thing. So I left that pretty quickly and I started watching the Daily Wire guys, Michael Knowles. I can't stand Ben Shapiro. Michael Knowles.
Wait, bro.
You can I
He's a
can't stand
Jew.
Ben Shapiro. Um, um, there's stuff that like I knew that I didn't like about him. Not that he's a bad guy or anything. Like I'm not saying on a personal like level that I don't like him as a person. Um, just like his way of interacting, I just don't like. It rubs me the wrong way.
I agree.
Um, and then also now in Christianity, like looking at his conversations with Christians, I find him very honest and kind of authentic when he's talking about politics. But when it comes to religion, he's very disingenuous.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he's presenting the arguments that you're told to say, and he knows those are the arguments you're told to say, and he knows they're not true. So like
Hmm.
that's what it comes across as to me. But anyways, I was listening to a lot of Michael Knowles and Charlie Kirk.
Rest in
Some
peace.
rest in peace. Some of the liberal leaning people as well. But I also at the same time was watching um, because it was such an interesting topic to me at this point. I started watching Apologia
Studios.
Studios,
Nice.
on their
Jeff
stuff on
Durbin.
abortion. Jeff Durbin, I love Jeff Durbin. Jeff Durbin's
Jeff
great.
Durbin. Yeah, the beard.
That guy's
I've
a
reacted.
badass.
I've reacted to a few of his videos for sure.
Yeah, I think those guys are great. Whatever conflicts and whatever they have to say about Catholicism and back and forth, I really don't care. Like, not interested in that drama. But I think as far as like abortion and stuff like that, like those guys are serious heavy hitters,
Oh
and I
yeah.
love what they do.
Oh yeah.
So I was watching them, not interested in Christianity, but interested in what they were doing about abortion. Um, Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles. And all of a sudden, I'm just hearing everywhere about the resurrection. Like everyone's talking about proof for the resurrection, proof for the resurrection. This is the, validating thing. And I was like, well, I need to, and everyone's talking about it like it's a real historic event that happened. And I'm like, I need to, like, the proofs for it. And I'm like, oh, so it's not a faith thing. It's a proofs thing. Like so I started
That,
looking into it, and I was like, okay, I think I actually need to read the New Testament. um, at that same time, I didn't know who Tuvia Singer was at the time, but I heard a video of Trent Horn refuting Tuvia Singer. That was like my first introduction to Trent Horn, and I started listening to his stuff a little bit afterwards, after what I'm about to say. But essentially, I started doing some research on which the best Bible. That's funny that you asked me about which translation it was, because I started researching like which is the best Christian Bible translation. I landed on the New King James version, for specifically because it said it was the most accurate meaning to meaning for Old Testament or something like that.
hmm.
Which I know now is not necessarily accurate, but good translation either way. Um,
And a kind of inaccurate in the number of books of the Old Testament, but
yeah, exactly.
we'll let that slide for
Yeah,
now.
exactly. And I just went on a stream with somebody talking about that a little bit on Saturday. But essentially, I ordered on Amazon, the great Amazon that you don't have access to in Israel.
Wait, why is that?
They have, like, you can order from Amazon, but it's not the same thing. It takes like forever to get there, and there's like a tax thing that you have to do for importing, and it's like Israeli drama and politics involved.
I was gonna say, is that like something your government implemented or?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
it's the government import laws for anything over the value of $75, which is, funny enough, the minimum that you had to pay to get free shipping. Uh, so it was kind of a lose-lose situation. There were some things that you can't get otherwise, though, so it was
Okay.
cool that they had it. But um, so I order a Bible on Amazon, and it comes same day. Wonderful Amazon Prime, and we had one baby at the time, and we put him down to sleep, and I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, and my wife is sitting at the kitchen table in our apartment, and she's doing something at her computer, and I'm sitting there, and I open, and my intention was to read a few pages of Matthew. I ended up reading all the way through till like almost the end of Luke, um, straight through, and I
In one
look
night?
in like that sitting,
Oh wow.
like I didn't stop.
Wow, good for you. You were hooked
And I was
immediately.
hooked. I was hooked. And people talk about like, oh, as a Jew, the first time, were you surprised by how Jewish it is? I knew that, like, I knew the history of it. I had studied a little bit about Christianity. I knew that historically it's a Jewish group. Like, I knew that part, so I wasn't as surprised. But I remember looking at my wife and going, "Do you know what they did to this guy? Like, do you realize what the crucifixion is? Like, you kind of, when you're not a Christian, or when you don't think about it, or you're not a scholar investigating it, you don't think about like the details, but then you're like reading about it, and it's incredibly detailed, and there's the whole like buildup of understanding who Jesus is throughout that time period, right? And the things that he's saying to people, and the effect he's having on people, and then what happens to him, like, and you're just like, what the hell, man? Like, why would you do that? Um, But I remember I was, and I was telling my wife about it, and then she read also. She read the gospel as well. I finished John and Acts the next day.
Wow.
Um, she read, I think, most of it in the next like following weeks. Um, but I was just like, I was blown away by the gospel, and I made a video about it recently. I was saying like how, like, I should have said thank you, like some video. Charlie Kirk, at some point regretted not saying it then, but I said, Trent Horn. I had started watching videos from Trent Horn, but mostly just it was the effect of like, it was the effect of people just talking about it like it was real in ways that I hadn't heard before that drove me to read. And then once I read, I was like, okay, this is something serious.
Yeah.
Um, the problem was then I started realizing that there was all kinds of discrepancies, and I didn't watch like any of the anti-Christian polemicists. I just read, and from my knowledge, from my background, I encountered issues. One of the big ones was when I encountered in Acts, like the when Stephen is stoned to death, but the whole discourse that he's saying before then, and there's like some supposed errors in the places and names that he's giving. And I'm thinking, well, if he's guided by the Holy Spirit and he's, like looking onto the face of God in heaven while he's talking, like that's the description of it, and he's making these serious mistakes, or it's being recorded incorrectly by Luke, let's say, this would bring into questions. And then from there it kind of spiraled, and I was like, there's too many contradictions. And over the course of some months, it was like, yeah, I don't believe this is true. So I kind of fell away from that, left it alone for a while, but then started investigating a little bit more. And then I had that encounter with Tuvia Singer that kind of reopened it. And it was like a year and some of like really struggling with it intellectually. Before, well, I started, then I had some kind of like quiet time in life, just like a lull in things. And I started making videos about Judaism. And as I'm making the videos and I'm realizing, and this was, I guess, the big thing that happened was I realized that everything I was viewing was through a Jewish filter. Like, like I was inoculated against it, and that's why it appeared a certain way. And as I'm making my videos about all these issues in Judaism, I'm realizing, well, this isn't true. So there's that counter out. Well, this isn't true. So there's that counter out. Well, this is what first century Jewish literature, second century Jewish literature is actually saying before later rabbis under like Islamic influence are saying. So that's out. And once all these like layers fell away of distortion, it just one day, like it wasn't like a new argument or anything. I was just sitting there, and I think I was just smoking a cigar, just chilling like outside, and like it just smacked me in the face. Like one day I was like, oh, okay, so it is true. It was just a
Yeah.
very sudden like realization. And it's like, well, there you go. I guess I guess I gotta make some life decisions here. This is
Well,
very
yeah,
matter of fact about it.
life decision. My question really is, how does your wife and her journey kind of parallel with yours, or what kind of struggles, stumbling blocks did she have? I mean,
She was going through the exact same thing
okay,
silently as well.
okay,
Like I wasn't talking to her so much about it. I was talking to her a little bit, and she was going through the same thing, like very silently. And when I was like, yeah, I think this is the truth here, because we had had a conversation like a few months before that, where she was saying to me, like, where it's like 2,000 years since the temple's been destroyed, and there's been no prophets, and like, how are we supposed to take that? Like, if you believe in the Bible, how are you supposed to take that? And so she was going through it, but like questioning maybe from a different angle. And then once I said it, she was like, yeah, I think I've been pretty much seeing it the same way for the last few months as well.
okay. So another question: the Temple of Jerusalem is destroyed in 70 A.D.
Right.
What happens to the revelation, like the pedagogy of revelation throughout the whole Old Testament, Second Temple, First Temple, all that stuff, and then the temple's destroyed? Now what? Is it just a waiting trial period, like the diaspora, the scattering of the Jews, waiting for the Messiah to actually come and to gather in the lost sheep of Israel? Is that what you guys were anticipating?
Well, so 70 AD, a lot changes about Judaism. Like, um,
No more
pray,
temple.
no more temple. So prayer is officially in doctrine replacing sacrifice. So
Right.
prayer fully replaces it. With the expectation that there's going to be a future temple, but this is like what's going to. I always tell people like the system that the rabbis implemented from 70 AD worked flawlessly for what it was intended to do, which was preserve the Jewish people as a identifiable group in exile from Israel.
And they were like different schools of thought within
Well, it kind of
rabbinic
from that point
Judaism.
it really solidified under one kind of leadership school, and then during the next major exile after the second Judean revolt, where there was more dispersion, like Babylon took like the center of Jewish authority. So even though there was communities in Ashkenaz and in Sfarad in the east, in North Africa, they were all kind of communicating by letter with the three major schools in Babylon. in Babylonia, and those were kind of the religious leadership. And then there was also the secular political leadership in Babylonia as well. That was kind of like the de facto head of the Jewish people base. So the Talmud, for example, starts getting spread through like the 6th through 8th centuries by letter originally throughout the Jewish communities in Europe and in North Africa. So it's all under the kind of the same school of thought at that point, but there are different rabbis saying different things. Like it's not monolithic at all. What's really ironic is that people tell me, you don't, what Jewish thought this, Jewish thought that, this is what Jews really believe. And I'm like, Jonathan Sacks, who was a very well-respected rabbi amongst Jews everywhere. He was the chief rabbi of England, basically, and he passed away a few years ago. But he has, like, you can find a video of him online talking about how the irony of people criticizing the work of Maimonides. He's like, there was no Judaism before Maimonides. There was a bunch of various groups of Jews. There was no Judaism. There was no theology. There was no set doctrine of things. And you can see that there people will be like, oh, well, this Midrash says that. And I'm like, well, there's 5 others that say 5 different other things, right? My whole thing is that I can point to various Jewish sources that agree with Christian theology in the 2nd through 8th centuries, even when rejecting Christianity itself. So Judaism changes significantly at that point. Now, different schools of thought have different approaches to things. So like I grew up in the Chabad community, and the idea of the Messiah is a very important topic, especially because a lot of people in Chabad feel like Menachem Mendel Schneerson is the Messiah, and that he's going to come back and he's going to be the Messiah. I didn't believe that. My friends didn't really believe that, but there are many people in the Chabad world that do. There's a few people in the Chabad community that are Elokistim that think that the Messiah, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, is God in a body, which is a very ironic thing to believe as a Jew. But then there are other groups of people that think like the Messiah has nothing to do with any kind of like spectacular figure in that sense. It's kind of like an established king that the Jewish people will appoint, who's going to take this role. There's entities in Israel that do not believe that the Messiah is going to come, that first the temple has to be reestablished and then the Messiah will come.
Yes.
And then, and so like we have to do the work to do it. So there's all kinds of different schools of thought. Like Judaism still isn't monolithic, even though there's some core ideas in Orthodoxy, one of which is don't be Christian. But essentially, like Judaism has changed drastically from what Jews would have done in, the Second Temple period or the First Temple period to what Jews do today.
Yeah. So like the Second Temple period, like leading up to the destruction in 70 AD was, because this is how I understand it, this is what I learned, is that you had the synagogues and then you had the temples, correct?
Yeah, the temple and then synagogues.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the synagogues were kind of analogous to like the liturgy of the word, teaching, catechesis, reading of the scriptures, prayer, right? And then the temple was distinct from the synagogues, even though they were, one of the same or whatever. But the temples were for like the sacrifice.
The priesthood.
Yeah. Okay. So,
well, the other thing to remember is that the people running the temple cult were the Sadducees, and the people running the synagogues were the Pharisees, and they hated each other.
Right.
Like there was not too much overlap. There was some rabbis. This is what's funny. Also, rabbis claim that they're the fulfillment of the Sanhedrin and like the Jewish court system, but it's actually the Sadducees that ran the Sanhedrin, not the Pharisees, except for a few that were involved with it. There had to be, and for political reasons, but they didn't get it. Like Pharisees would like purposely like capture Sadducees. Pharisees would capture Sadducees, who were priests, and like do things to them that would ritually taint them for temple service. If they denied the resurrection of the dead, for example. They would stone them to death. Like groups of Pharisees would kill each other. Like the famous schools of Hillel and Shammai. Like Shammai killed like 2/3 of the students of Hillel. It's a brutal time in history.
I just put that up so we don't forget. Okay, so keep going. Don't keep going. Yeah. We're good.
But yeah, essentially, like Jews don't really like. Even if you learn Jewish history, it's not in that light that you learn it as a Jew. It's kind of like the general groups and what they did and who said what and who did what and how it interacted with the Romans. And you don't get into the weeds of like, different groups of Jews at the time that were supposed to believe were just kind of having like polite discourse about the law, that they were murdering each other over it. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So since you brought up the Sadducees and the Pharisees really quickly, because there's a debate in Protestant and Catholic circles about which canon, right? Old Testament canon did Jesus and his apostles read, cite, quote, whatever,
Right.
because we believe it was the Greek Septuagint that included the Deuterocanonicals. Whereas a lot of Protestants will claim that the Pharisees not only had, it's called the Tanakh, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it was the 22 books, but they can be separated into 39 or whatever. And that canon was closed. Like,
Yeah, it's nonsense.
that's what, thank you. Here,
It's absolute.
guys.
I'll explain. So the claim of rabbinic Judaism, first seen in earliest beginning of the 3rd century, in the codification of the Mishnah, which is the first time that the oral Torah is written down, claims that there's an unbroken chain back to Moses, and where one of the groups in the chain is the men of the Great Assembly in the time of Ezra in the 4th century BC, and they claim that prophecy ended then, and that the entire canon of the Jewish canon was closed at that time, and that the Jews always had a set canon after that. The reality is that rabbis in the 5th century AD are still debating which books are in the canon. In the
I'm sorry,
Talmud,
say that year again.
5th century AD are still
Wow.
debating,
Right.
and the Jewish canon as we know it today is not officially closed until the 9th century with the Masoretes. And also things are changed. And they're even arguing in the Talmud is Ezekiel supposed to be in here because there's some things that we have issues with. They talk about Sirach. One rabbi's like, anyone who reads extra biblical works as religious has no place in heaven in the world to come. And another rabbi goes, yeah, and Sirach too. And then a bunch of other rabbis go, wait a second, I read Sirach. And one of them's like, wait a second, but that's just wisdom though, isn't it? And the other rabbi goes, well, I mean, it sounds a lot like Ecclesiastes, and we think that that's scripture. So there's like a whole back and forth where Sirach is obviously considered scripture by 2/3 of the rabbis or so. It's just, to me, it's funny because I jumped on a stream with when I first started investigating, when I first became a believer and I wasn't sure where I was landing on things. I wasn't interested in becoming as appealing as I find it, by the way. I wasn't interested in being any kind of Protestant. But I jumped on a stream with Ryan, Need God. And I was like, so what do you say about the fact that the Jews didn't close the canon until, he's like, where does it say that? And I was like, it's in the Talmud. He's like, where? I was like, I don't know the exact source off the top of my head. It's Sanhedrin 100b or whatever it is. But he goes, well, I don't, if you don't have a source for that. I was like, oh, I know the source. I learned it in growing up. I've learned that tractate of the Talmud. Also intercession of the saints and the praying for intercession of dead saints. That's Jewish stuff that goes back to the first century at least. But yeah, this is all authentically Jewish before there's any Roman influence or Greek influence or anything like that. But the canon is obviously not closed amongst the Jewish people because they're arguing about it 6 centuries after the life of Jesus.
Man, I just feel so vindicated right now because I've debated tons of Protestants on this very issue, and they just haphazardly off the cuff will say that the Pharisees had a closed canon. I mean, their argument is because that's the Pharisees' supposed Tanakh is what the
well, they cite Josephus, but Josephus has his own reasons for not accepting the Greek Jews as legitimate.
Right, like the Septuagint,
like anything Greek.
Yeah.
Josephus has his reasons for rejecting that. They're like, no, the Roman Jews, the ones who are loyal to Rome, the ones who are involved with Rome, so.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. All right,
Yeah.
so my next question is this. So you were listening to and watching an eclectic group of apologists and political ideologues. So you mentioned
Right.
Charlie Kirk, Michael Knowles, Trent Horn, Jeff Durbin, I believe Steven Crowder.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain? I mean, because to me, that's very eclectic.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain how those varying personalities played a role and how you came about to try to decide between Catholicism, Orthodoxy, Protestantism?
So they didn't play any role in that at all.
Oh, okay.
So that's what led me to believe that I should read the gospel and take it seriously. So I was listening to something and somebody's having a conversation with Michael Knowles, and he said, let's not get into the theology here. And Michael Knowles says something along the lines of, well, every conversation at its core is a theological one. I'm like, well, that's true. I just don't know where to take that. I should probably find out where to take that.
Yeah.
stuff like that just inspired me to read what I ought to have read. It wasn't. I didn't take anyone's particular opinion seriously. Um, some people seemed more authentic and genuine in what they were presenting than others. Um, like I understood that Charlie Kirk knew the Bible very well, but I didn't think that I should take his opinion as a Bible scholar as anything to, rely on. Same with Michael Knowles, like his opinions on Catholicism. Like he's not an apologist, he's not a priest, he's not a historian, he's a political commentator. It was interesting to be pushed in that direction, but I'm not going to take Michael Knowles' word on religion as anything that I should rely on. Even Trent Horn, he's like one of the leading apologists on the topic, but it's like he's one person. Like you can't just rely on any
Yeah.
particular voice. As powerful a voice as it might be, you can't rely on one person. You have to investigate. You have to discern between things. You have to see what counterpoints are being made. For me, it was a very intellectual thing until suddenly it was like a very just realization of that it's true. I still didn't feel very emotionally connected towards it or like feelings of faith. It was more just like a realization that it's true.
There are a lot of converts that when they enter into the church, they feel disillusioned because of the lack of emotions and feeling, because they're expecting grace to be sensual, you know what I mean? Or at least have some sort of mystical experience, when actually it's almost, in a sense, it's better not to have those feelings, because that's not what sanctifying grace is. It's not sensed, it's not felt, it's not emotion, you know. So yeah, that, to me, that's a good thing that you didn't really experience that. But yeah, so you were mentioning, I think this is a really good point for anyone who's considering converting to Catholicism, and that is, do a fair and well-balanced research using your own conscience. And I think what's really important is don't take anybody and everybody at their own word. You
But
have
also
to
respect people for the things that they're good at. Um, like I've spent some time chatting with Anthony Rogers. I think he's an incredible scholar.
Is he Eastern Orthodox?
No, he's a Protestant.
Anthony Rogers. I don't know if I know him.
But either way, but he's an excellent apologist. He's very good at debating Muslims and Jews. Um, he has an incredible knowledge of the Bible, of all the Old Testament prophecies that point to Jesus, of theophanies in the Old Testament. Claims about how is Jesus presented as God in the writings in the New Testament, like all that kind of stuff. He's very good at. People should take him seriously when he's talking about that stuff.
Okay.
He might be, from a Catholic perspective, wrong about certain things about the church and the structure and ecclesiology and some of the history of the development of the church, but there are things that he's incredibly educated on, and you should take him seriously on those things and hear what he has to say. There are people that have bad personalities, but they're good Bible teachers, right? You should take them seriously about the Bible. Don't necessarily copy their behavior. Like you can learn from anyone if you focus on the things that you ought to focus on.
I couldn't agree more. I think, we need to get past, our feelings being hurt or us being offended, or I'm not trying to downplay that, but at the same time, I think we can find mutual agreement and understanding and find the elements of truth that people in other faiths or in other Christian denominations and churches have. I think that's a good start.
Christians should stop attacking each other online and find some common ground. It'll be productive for everyone.
Correct. Well, Pope Leo just came out with an apostolic letter in the unity of the faith. It was basically on how all Christians, valid baptized Christians, right, share a common heritage in the profession of faith, the Nicene Creed, because we all of us, we agree 100%. I mean, depending on some Protestant communities or whatever, that's what we agree with. So, I mean, that's kind of a starting point for reunification. You know what I mean? So yeah, I appreciate your angle there, look at the good and the beauty and the elements of truth in people, and treat them with the dignity, and instead of just like wanting to be all polemical constantly.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the various groups of Christians will look to other religions and find things that they find interesting, but they won't look to other branches of Christianity to find things they find interesting. That's a little
Yeah.
bit problematic in my view. It's like don't invest, like why bother with other religions and their beliefs as far as like where you can derive beauty from? Why don't you focus on other groups of Christians? Why don't you look
Right.
at Messianic Jews who are incredibly in love with Jesus, and really just focus on that and maybe take something from that? Why not look at the evangelicals who are really, really into preaching the gospel to people and maybe do more of that?
Mhm.
Why don't you look at Eastern Orthodox who are, incredibly focused on like specific elements of their culture and the progression of their form of Christianity and the history of where that came from and the saints that died, and in martyrdom for that, right? Why not look at Catholics for the same kind of things and the education and the structure of philosophy as it developed in the Christian world and look to Catholics for that, right? There's everyone, and obviously there's crossover and all those. There's incredible evangelists in the Catholic world, and they're incredible scholars of philosophy in the Protestant world, and overlap there as well. I'm just giving sound bites, but that's all in the Christian world. You can spend a lifetime doing that. You don't need to learn about Hinduism. Like,
Right. No, I mean, not to make it about me, but my channel, my members, right? I can still say you're a Jew, right?
yeah,
Okay. So I have a Jew, I have a Mormon, I have Protestants, I have an Eastern Orthodox, and I have Catholics.
yeah.
And we all get along very well. And none of us are compromising what we believe in. None of us are allowing our consciences
Well,
to
Jew
be.
by ethnicity, Catholic by faith. So I guess I fall into that category in that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Well, come on, throw me a bone. Dude, I'm trying to make it the
you know,
most eclectic members group I
there's
have.
no Jew nor Greek.
Yeah, look at who's that, guys? St. Paul. Let's go, bro. Tribe of Benjamin, right? St.
Yeah.
Paul. Anyways, but yeah, my channel is built on trying to, save souls, but really it's ecumenism is huge because I don't know, Ash, you tell me your experience in the Catholic realm online and in real life, because, well, I know you can tell me online, but how vitriolic, how polemical it is when Catholics feel so entitled because, yeah, we belong to the church that Christ founded. It is the fullness of the truth. And a lot of Catholics feel entitled insofar as they can lord it over people and be all triumphalistic instead of finding common ground, mutual understanding, and listening. Instead, we have parallel monologues with each other and just attacking each other. What is your experiences?
So, in looking at things online, when I was first deciding what to do, I don't take anything online as very seriously. Like I know that people are putting on a show essentially. I try to be as honest as I can about who I am, but obviously at some points we're putting on an image, we're acting a certain way. Um, but then there are people that are completely different in private than they are in person, right?
Sure.
I try to be as much the same in public as I am in private in that sense. But a lot of people are putting on a complete show. It's not like them at all. There are people that are apologists who are not baptized, who don't go to church. Like there are people who I know from the Jewish community who put out videos on Jewish spirituality, and they eat pork and they don't keep the Sabbath. So like I've known people like that. So don't trust what you see online. Um, I knew that it was going to be very different in person than online, and I was even more shocked by the discrepancy. Um, like
Can,
people at church and the people you talk to about Christianity online are not the same people.
so, are there certain specific instances or experiences you've had online with Catholics? I mean, you don't have to name names or anything,
Right.
but that you were kind of surprised and baffled at, like I was when I converted to Catholicism. Like, you guys are calling yourself Catholics, like because Catholics have a high bar of more morality that we need to achieve, and it's
Right.
like you guys are less than yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, I mean the I don't know other churches because I've only gone to one church. Like we made the decision where we were going, we went there and we committed to it. So I don't know other churches. We didn't go like shopping around. Um, I don't know how to like first of all, most of the people I don't at my church I don't think are online watching apologetics or getting into these debates or these arguments. I do know that one guy is, because he came up to me when my channel got taken down and said, "I'm so sorry your channel got taken down. I was loving watching it." It's like, you watch my videos. It's kind of awkward.
Isn't it? So you met a
It was,
person in real life that
yeah, he
watched
came
your
over to me
channel.
and like after the liturgy and was like, um, and was like, I saw what happened to your channel. Like, I'm sorry, what's going on?
Did he
And
want a selfie with you? Do you want your
no,
autograph?
no,
No, none of
he
that.
was just saying like, I followed you on Rumble. You know, like I'm still gonna watch and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's cool, bro. That's kind of weird.
Oh, oh yeah, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but you did go to Rumble after the YouTube thing
Yeah,
happened. Okay, yeah, all right,
and
yeah.
but I even like after the channel went down, I told my priest about it because I was like, oh, it's over now, anyways. I might as well talk to him about it. And he's like, oh, he's like, you weren't saying like anti-Semitic stuff, were you? And I was like, no. He's like,
Can
okay,
I
good.
tell you what I thought?
Yeah,
It's just a speculation, so don't take it with a grain of salt. But I just assumed it had something to do with Semitic rhetoric, because coming from a Jewish background, I'm sure you talked a lot about it on your channel.
yeah,
And there's like the stigmas with the buzz. I mean, Jew. Just the word itself. I mean, without
triggers the
context,
AI,
I could get flagged or whatever.
triggers the moderation AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened actually. But we can get into that. But basically, I'll address that when we talk about it. But
Spoiler.
spoiler. But I talked to my priest about it, and he gave me a blessing like that. You know, he hopes it all works out, and if it's working, because I told him I didn't know, like I was just talking. Like I knew people were interested because I was getting a ton of subscribers and people commenting and all kinds of stuff. I thought most of the people watching hated me, but after the channel went down, I got over 50 emails from people saying, "I'm so sad your channel got taken down," and these are the categories. I was almost about to convert to Judaism. I've been I left Christianity and I've been a Jew for 30 years and I'm going back to the church now. Um, I've been an atheist for 20 years and I'm investigating Christianity now. Over 50 people. And I'm like, that made me really sad because I was like, I would like my channel went down. I'm like, oh, whatever. It was a fun thing to do. It was interesting to me. It's presenting my, my worldview, how I believe that, the early rabbinic literature validates that Christianity is the authentic continuation of biblical Israel and so on. But I didn't realize the effect it was having on people, like actually. And once I realized that like the channel's gone and that was what was happening, I was like, oh, that's really bad that it's it's gone. I was like, that's a really bad thing. I should work to get that back or find a way to continue doing it. Um, so my channel was restored just for anyone who's concerned about it, but it was wrongfully. It was admitted wrongfully. I was apologized to, but essentially that was very troubling and it was very sad after I realized what effect it was actually having on people.
So
Um, yeah.
how long was your channel not around or whatever? Like how they took it down,
Like
and
two
how long?
weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, again, you don't have to answer this. This might be too personal or whatever. But was there any talk about being compensated for that 2 week, period?
Like for like ad revenue and stuff.
Just then, I mean, the inconvenience of it. I mean, the ad revenue,
Yeah,
all
I
that
mean, I
stuff.
spoke to a lawyer. Like I went multiple avenues to get it back, and between the things it worked. One of them was a lawyer. Um, the lawyer said if you don't get the channel back, or if it's down for a more significant amount of time, you could easily have a case for damages. So that could have been something to pursue. There was no, it's not worth the time for me. Like
Yeah.
it's not my income. Like I make money off of my channel, but it's a tiny amount. It's not my income.
Right. And speaking
Um,
of income and Ash, there is a link in the description for Ash. Buy me a coffee if you want to support him. And because of the unfortunate inconvenience of having his
let me
channel.
guilt trip everyone. I was forced to buy a new vehicle because my children don't fit in my vehicle anymore, and we won't be able to go to church otherwise. So we had to get a new vehicle. And if you hear my chair squeaking, that's the chair. But I had to.
Sure it was. I'm just kidding.
We had to get a bigger vehicle, otherwise we can't fit all the kids in the car and go to church. That's literally the only thing we leave the house for.
So,
Um, so
so
yeah, if anyone wants to help out with the car purchase on the buy me a coffee, it would be great.
yeah, yeah. Ash bought a Hummer for his kids.
Exactly.
So yeah, help buy him
We
a
got
coffee.
we got a Buick.
A Buick, SUV
Mm,
or like a hatchback. Oh, okay,
SUV.
Buick.
It was considerably cheaper for the same mileage than the equivalent minivan,
Yeah,
so we went with
but
the SUV.
Buick is a boomer make, right? A boomer
Yeah,
car make.
it wasn't my preferred vehicle. It was what we could afford. So
Yeah,
yeah, we got a good deal on it. So that's why the Buick.
yeah. But guys, spread the wealth a little bit. I have financial concerns as
Yeah,
well. Don't all,
don't all to
force
Ash.
them into Ash. Oh, I know we had a super chat here from my boy Retro.
Yeah,
He thinks the world of you, Ash. He says he could listen to you all day. He's
appreciate
been
that.
one of my members since day one. So, and I agree. Just listening to you, it's just so easy to listen. I don't know. There's something about your personality um, that I think a lot of people would benefit from. Because you have like this cool temperament. You know what I mean? And you're very honest.
That's a lot of work. That's not my temperament.
Oh, is it? Okay, it's a
Yeah.
charism. It's an extraordinary
Yeah,
grace.
so for people that want to know about that, I actually had a conversation with Sam Shamoon when he came on my channel about it, and I taught him the prayer from our Byzantine publicans prayer book for prayer for your enemies.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so I've been saying that basically daily. Um, my demeanor was tempered, as it were, under military protocol in the army, where you have to keep yourself in check and you have to follow rules and you have to listen to authority properly and all of that stuff. That's where I learned to keep that in check. And then as a security contractor afterwards as well.
in Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I was, like I got into altercations with battalion colonels and stuff like that, where I
What do you
got
mean by
it.
altercation? What does that mean?
Like heated backs and forth with like the battalion commander, where I almost got in like pretty serious trouble for that. When I didn't agree with him on something that I should have kept my mouth shut about. But yeah, it's a learned skill. It's not the temperament. Quite the opposite,
I
actually.
mean, either way,
Yeah,
we'll take it, right? It's good for you.
it's proof that you can learn to behave yourself, is what it is.
Yeah, virtue. Guys, acquired habit, infused habit. That's Catholic theology, moral theology 101. All right, so
So on that note, I sometimes it goes a little bit the other way. So when I was doing security work in Israel, I was on my way home from work, and a car pulled through a stop sign and almost hit an old lady, and then turned up like a small road alleyway thing where I knew there was a dead end like about a mile up. And I chased the car on foot, and turned out it was undercover cop.
whoa.
And I had basically told him to get out of the car, and I said, and he's like, bro, I'm a cop. And I was like, I don't care, get out of the car. And he's like, what do you think you're doing? I'm like, you're gonna get out of the car, and we're gonna wait for your officer to come. Now I happen to know, once I found out it was actually better that it was a cop, because I knew his commanding officer, but from my work. But I basically told him to get out. We waited for his boss to show up and reprimand him. And he's like, I can't believe you're doing this. And I was like, yeah, you almost hit an old lady, so that's why we're doing this.
Wow.
He's like, well, I'm following somebody. I was like, yeah, there's nobody to here to follow, so you're just lying. I don't care. And even if
Wow,
you're following somebody, you almost hit an old lady. So
that's pretty audacious, man.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that could have ended
Would you do the
pretty poorly.
same today if you were in that situation?
Probably not. I have much more to lose now, so
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
do that over
kids.
here.
Yeah, kids will having kids will temper that even more.
Yeah,
You gotta,
absolutely, man. Yeah, kids are sanctifying, man. They really help us grow in holiness and
different person.
for sure. For sure. So someone was asking, maybe they didn't really hear, but so your channel was taken down by, and again, I want to preface this with my wife telling me about how there is YouTube AI
Yeah.
that will do certain things like monitor and regulate and take down channels. So
Yeah.
that was your experience, right? With the AI?
No. So I'm going to be careful about how much I get into because
Oh yeah, I don't want to get canceled.
I learned things that I'm not supposed to know about how it works.
Oh.
But basically, essentially, you could have the AI like mess with you because it thinks you're doing something wrong. But randomly. So people have random stuff that happens. Like you could just, because of nothing, have that happen to you. Um, in my case, it was targeted
Mm-hmm.
by several individuals who went out of their way to target it and cause that to happen. Combined with AI, combined with glitches, combined with stuff, ended up being taken down. But once it was investigated, they're like, oh, this is wrongful. There's nothing here that violates YouTube policy. So they put it back up. But it was, in my case, malicious. So I actually noticed some people coming out of the woodwork after it got taken down, like on other channels, like, oh, I'm so glad Ash's channel is gone. He was, get this, the most aggressive Christian evangelist on the internet.
Wow.
I'm like, my wife pointed this out. She's like, to your fault, you've never preached the gospel.
Right? Yeah.
So it was like, to call me the most aggressive, like, do you mean aggressive like in number, like volume of preaching? Do you mean aggressive like attitude? Like there's much more aggressive people than me. I've had calm conversations with people, dialogue back and forth, even when they lose their temper. Like there's nothing aggressive about what I'm doing, but it was pointed out to me what they mean is effective, which I didn't know beforehand. Like I knew that afterwards. Like people are leaving Judaism because they've realized that that's the truth. People are leaving. I had a Muslim leave Islam because of going like, oh, this Jewish guy is pointing out how Christianity is perfectly in line with the earlier thought of what's going on in the scriptures. People who are in the Hasidic Jewish community for years, going back to the church. Atheists, like Jews who are atheists like leave, like, well, I guess I have to think about this now, because I didn't, nobody put it like that before. Like, and not to say that I'm anything special in that regard. It's just sometimes somebody's unique way of explaining,
Of course.
reaches you in a way that somebody else's. That's why everyone, by the way, everyone who's watching, start a channel and do it. And even if 2 people watch, do it, because your voice might be the thing that reaches somebody. One person might hear you and think that Ash is stupid and you're a genius, and they'll listen to you instead. And because of you, they'll come to faith. So everyone should be doing that.
Watch
yeah,
1,000 Catholic YouTube channels will get started tomorrow.
Spring up overnight. Yeah, why not though, right?
More
Do it.
competition for us.
Yeah,
oh,
do
great.
it.
Thanks, Ash.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But seriously, I mean, the goal at the end of the day is spread the truth of the one true God and the church that he established, right? If that's the goal, then do it. Like, I don't know any other way to put it. But because of how effective it was, that's what, like, people have been slandering me, saying things about my family that's made up, things about me. One guy's like, I saw Ash in 2020 in Toronto. He was really unhealthy and overweight, and he was eating a bag of burgers that he had got from the local kosher restaurant. Like a whole tale. And I'm like, first of all, in 2020, I was in fantastic shape. Like, I was like at the peak of
burgers.
like in 2020, I ran 10K in 38 minutes. Like, I don't know what Ash you saw.
Did you run the 10K with a bag of burgers in your hand, though?
Yeah,
Come
exactly.
on.
I went and downed a beer afterwards. But which I actually did with friends once. We did like the thing where you chug a beer and then go for a run. It was like, that was not a good idea. But
Yeah.
but I was like, first of all, I was in great shape in 2020. But aside from that, I also didn't live in Canada since like 2014 or 2015. So I don't know who you saw where. Wasn't in Canada. It was during COVID. Nobody was traveling there. Like, you couldn't go in or out of Canada during that time. So just the amount of slander, and one guy going like, oh, Ash is not really Jewish, and all kinds of stuff like this. Is like, well, me personally from childhood, so it's kind of weird that they didn't realize that I could figure out who it was, because they thought they were anonymous, but I figured out who it was.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. But I'm like, should I tell my parents that you're slandering them, like saying that they're not Jewish, basically? Like, you go to the synagogue with them weekly. Like, do you want to see them there and have to confront them about that? And then they remove the comment. But just the amount of hatred, and this is something that I want to get to with any conversation I have about this. When I first stopped being an Orthodox Jew, people would ask me what I believe and like what I'm thinking now, like what I'm doing, and I would joke with people and tell them that I was a Buddhist, and they would they would say like, well, what is like it was some who had traveled to India, you know, or whatever it was, like knew about it, and then others were like, well, what is Buddhism? And like, oh, does that mean where you like don't believe in anything really, or like whatever guesses about it? And I was telling them like, yeah, we, you know, it's you believe in like oneness of everything, but you also have like idols of the Buddha, and like I was literally like talking to them like I had idols in my house, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool, like that's your new thing, whatever. Like no issue with it. Like I could have literal idols in my house like praying to the Buddha. Like they didn't care about that. You could say anything that you're becoming. You could become a Hindu. You could be an atheist. Jewish community does not care. If you become a Christian, you must have had some serious mental break,
Hmm.
or you're psychotic, or you hate the Jewish community now and you're trying to punish them. You're trying to make money somehow, grifting, whatever else claim that it is. That's across the board universal. You cannot be a Jew who becomes Christian without being demonized in some regard, which is why most people who convert from Jew, there's a lot, people don't, there's a lot of Jews that become Christians. Catholics specifically, by the way, more so than evangelical. They just keep their mouths shut and they keep to themselves. Very few
Wow.
people are public about it because of the amount of attack that you get. Like from people that wouldn't otherwise have an issue with Christians. If you're a Jew who became a Christian, that's it. Like, after the Holocaust, the chief rabbi of Rome became Catholic. The Jewish community stance, he was emotionally coerced. Well, okay, this is the line of reasoning. This is where the conflict comes in. Pope Pius the
12th.
12th
12th. Yep.
was evil and Hitler's pope.
Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
the claim. Then, well, then why did the the chief rabbi of Rome becomes a Catholic? Oh, he was emotionally moved by, you know, what the Catholics did for Jews in the Holocaust. Well, wait a second. I thought it was Hitler's pope and the Catholics are evil. Which way is it, right? I mean, I know from personal experience, my dad's well, my grandmother's youngest cousin, who was my dad's age, was saved by a Catholic family in the Holocaust, and then grew up afterwards as my dad's kind of like adopted sister. So, and that was a group of 5,000 children. That was just one mission, right, of bringing them back to like Jewish families. So the attitude is not, it doesn't line up with reality, and it's incredibly like emotionally knee jerk, specifically to Jews that become Christians, specifically Catholics, in most regards. But that's the experience that I've had. That's always the experience. There was, funny, in Chabad, like the community that I come from, the first rabbi of Chabad in the late 17th, early 18th century, he wrote a like a masterpiece of Jewish theological, philosophical, spiritual work called the Tanya, which I have my theories about as far as where he was and who he was influenced by. It's very unique within Jewish thought. Save that for a whole nother conversation. That could open a whole can of worms. But his youngest son is cited in the opening, like, forward. Like, my father, great scholars, so and so, and like the son is cited there, signs his name, and it's in that forward. That rabbi's son and rabbi, became a Catholic in Eastern Ukraine in the early 18th century.
Cool.
Now, if you actually, well, one rabbi later on says, oh, well, he actually won a debate with a bishop, and they were embarrassed and made him sign things saying that he had become Catholic, and then he ran away. The record actually shows, like health records, hospital, so on, of the time. What happened was he converted to Catholicism, and then in the Jewish community they'll say, well, he had a mental break and went insane, and then he converted. What happened was he converted, and then 20 or 30 years later had some health related mental health issues like dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever it could have been at that time that nobody would have known what it was. And the family was trying to say, we need to take custody of him to care for him. And the bishop at the time said, no, he's a Catholic. He's been here for all these years. We're going to take care of him. And he died there as a Catholic. So the reality is that he had genuinely converted to Catholicism, and he was the son of the founder of the Chabad movement. But he's demonized as just a guy who went insane, and so he became, like, he must have gone insane, right, according to the Jewish mind. Like, he must have gone insane, otherwise there's no way you could believe that Christianity is true. You could not be a Catholic if you are of sound mind in in the view of Jewish thought.
Man, that's an interesting way of looking at converts from Judaism. to be honest with you. I mean, I guess, to be fair, the radical idea of the Messiah coming, claiming himself to be God or the Son of God, and then not liberating the lost sheep of Israel from the Romans, and then getting crucified. Like I can kind of, I just want to empathize a little bit with it.
Right.
But you think they would be more accepting or tolerant of that. So Ash, man, isn't it crazy when you find out the impact you've had on like real people in their faith and their spiritual journey? It's insanity.
Yeah.
When I started this channel, it was my wife said I should do it. And then we just started talking and made a couple of videos and made a couple more. And then like so much time went on and so many videos. And then like one person came to me and like thanked me and for the channel and all the stuff. And like, he's considering Catholicism. Like,
Right.
I felt like I was out of my body, because I know that I'm just a tool and an instrument, and there are better people at evangelizing and smarter people. Like, and that's not false humility. That's the truth. It just is. And to know that I helped somebody, you know what I mean? Because I do this for evangelizing, but also to bring in revenue. I do. I
Right.
can't lie about it.
Right.
But then when somebody says that to me, it's just like everything else doesn't matter. The revenue, the subscribers, the views, the watch hours, all that stuff. Like, who
It's all
gives
out
a
the
rip?
window. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. And like, well, with your channel, I remember, because when you and I first kind of got to know each other, you would hop on or whatever. You had this channel, and I remember it being, I can't remember, 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers, and then it just blew up. I mean, not to like 100,000, but I
Right.
think you're at 50 in the short amount of time to 15,000 people, and then I see you going live all the time, 200 plus people on your live streams. I only have 76 right now. What's going
Right.
on here? And I think you're having a great impact on a lot of people. And I think
I think it's because, like I said, the reason for it is, and it's not something special about me. It's just that there are a lot of
it's the beard.
there are a lot of there are a lot of
Beard.
educated Jews who become Catholics who just want to be left alone, and so
Why
they're
is
not
that?
gonna. They just want to live their lives. They're like, I'm a Catholic now. I'm part of the Catholic community. I go to a Catholic church. My kids go to Catholic school. I don't need to get involved with apologetics online. I don't need to talk to people. They're like a mechanic or whatever it is. Like, they don't need
Right,
to.
right, right.
Like, they're not interested in being online or having a presence or having anything like that.
Right, right.
Um, and especially because they know the response they're going to get. They're going to be attacked. Like, I was told that when I first went to church. Like, the priest came over to talk to me, and he's like, "Oh, you're Jewish?" And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "By the way," like everyone knew. Like, Sam Shamoon told me that when he's like, "Oh, you're becoming Catholic," and I was like, "Yeah," and he says, everyone's gonna attack you. Everyone's gonna attack you. A Jew becoming Catholic is not something that people like. Doesn't matter if it's Muslims or other Jews or other denominations of Christians. Jews becoming Catholics is like you're putting a target on yourself, essentially.
Man.
um Not that people who are cradle Catholics, when they get into the public eye, are not also putting a target on themselves in their own way, but um becoming a Catholic as a Jew is asking for trouble.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
Does it have to do with something as if Christianity or Christendom kind of suppressed Judaism and kind of took over, the world, but West and East? And, we the Catholic Church really, before Vatican II, right? We had our discrepancies with Jews, and individual Catholics always blaming the Jews for killing our Lord and blah 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 and all that. So is it like kind of like a treason in the highest
Yeah.
degree?
Yeah, in part, but also like the whole persecution of Jews by the hands of the church, right? um it's also not true to the extent that it's talked about. I asked my dad, who, by the way, pray for him, is he was really sick, and now he's um, being taken care of properly, and he's in the hospital, and he'll probably be released soon. But um,
For sure.
um,
Absolutely.
I had a conversation with him a few months ago, And I asked him because we were talking about it, and he was asking me about questions, like very genuinely, like not in a aggressive way or challenging. He's just asking me, like we're just talking about it. And I said, and it came up in conversation. I said to him, I was like, "How many Jews do you think were killed by the church in the or by the king in the Spanish Inquisition?" He goes, "I know it's not a million like you hear some people say." He's like, "What, like 90,000, 100,000?" And I'm like, it's like 3 or 4, and most of them were political enemies of the state, not because they were Jewish, not because they wouldn't
Right.
convert or something. Um, Not only that, that they helped the Muslims invade, like they opened the gates, like for the Muslims to invade Spain. Um, like there's a lot of context that's missing. The idea that Catholics were somehow responsible for the Holocaust. It's like, one, Hitler was an occultist, like who knows what, like
I thought he was a
theosophist.
Lutheran. I thought he was a Lutheran.
He was influenced by one of the early theosophists, Helena Blavatsky, who talked about spiritual hierarchies in race. That was his, like, he was a weird occultist. He wasn't a Christian. He co-opted certain Christian talking points to make it
Oh,
sound
okay.
like he's,
You would know better than
yeah. I mean,
me.
Hitler,
So.
like any educated Jew knows that Hitler wasn't a Christian. Like that's
Okay.
just
Okay.
nonsense.
I'm sorry.
Um,
I didn't mean to sound that ignorant, but
no, but
I thought he had like an affinity for some of Luther's theology and
like some
stuff.
of Luther's like Luther is like one of the real anti-Semitic Christians.
Right. Right. That's what I meant. Yeah.
But like it's not that Hitler might have cited those things and Luther might, like, do you know what Judenschau is?
I have no idea. Wait, can we say
Judenschau,
the H word? That's okay, right?
what, Hitler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can say Hitler.
Okay. I don't know. All right.
As long as you're not like promoting like Nazism. But even that, like there's people promoting Nazism on YouTube and they don't get banned. Uh, like,
Wow.
depends to what extreme you go. But we're condemning it here. I don't know why that would be an issue. But essentially there was an art form that developed first in German Catholics, but then after the Reformation really took hold in like the Lutheran kind of sphere of things. It's still prominently featured on certain Lutheran churches, but it's a style of art that was basically to depict rabbis doing immoral things with pigs as a slap in the face to Jews, because Jews think that pigs are
Pork.
dirty and
Pork.
unclean.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very targeted attack on Jews to make this form of art form that shows like rabbis like drinking from like milk from pigs, and like investigating pigs' rear ends and things like that.
Sorry.
And there's one church in, yeah,
Investigating.
it's really creepy.
I'm
And
looking for a good cut of bacon.
exactly. And there's one of them that's still very prominently featured on a church in Germany, but there's like a plaque about how anti-Semitic it is, and we condemn this, but this is like what happened in history, which I think is very good. I think they should keep it there, and I think they should have the plaque. But essentially, yeah, I mean, the idea that the church persecuted Jews throughout history is also not exactly true. If you look at like first of all, there's something really interesting I bring up to people. Jews make the claim that the Jewish people today go back to first century Judea before the exile, which is true. How do we know it's true? Well, thank the church, because it's all church documents tracking where different groups of Jews were going and the interactions they were having.
Mm.
You wouldn't know that otherwise. You wouldn't know that the people who were in Spain at the time were authentically Jewish if you didn't have documents from the Council of Toledo, right? Which, by the way, is because Jews were coercing Christian women to marry them and then abandoning them after they had children and used them. So that's why there was a ban on Jews marrying Christian women, and that's in the Council of Toledo. Like, there's reasons for why what was happening. It's not that just like Jews are bad, by the way. It's like, no, there was issues. Even if you look at John Chrysostom, like his issue is not with Jews being Jews, it's with Christians fetishizing Jewish traditions. It's with Judaizers who are bringing that into the church and saying it's better, right? And he has issues with the Jews that are influencing that and trying to do that. It's not because people are Jews. Like there's important distinctions to make, right? It's not, and remember that it was also Jews were persecuting the early Christians in Israel, and then also under the Sassanid Empire in Persia, Babylonia, were killing Christians by the thousands alongside the leadership there. So to say that the church uniquely persecuted Jews in a way that other people have not been persecuted in history, you could very easily make the claim that Christians are the most persecuted demographic in history, like very easily.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
interesting because,
yeah.
we hear the Jews have been persecuted for 6,000 years, or
Right,
4,000,
but by who and
rather.
where? I mean, my
4,000,
one
sorry.
of my ancestors, there's like a divide in the line. So Marukpa is like this way. There's like another group that goes to Spain, and then like that continuation. Because I know the same. There's no record of them being related, but they have the same common ancestor. So we know it from that. But there was a guy who named. There was a famous rabbi, and then his son Yosef ibn Negrello became the vizier of a Andalusian Islamic like mini state. And he was put in charge, and the Muslims didn't like him, and so they started all kinds of rumors about him and whatever, and eventually it led to a massacre of 5,000 Jewish families, and many of them were crucified by the Muslims there, including Yosef ibn Negrella. So it's not like like there are certain rabbis today who are like taking the side of Islam to like demonize Christianity, and it's really appalling. Not that like to like attack somebody for being Muslim on the flip side, but to take the side of Islam against Christianity is kind of problematic in my view, considering the actual history of things.
Man, I didn't know you had this wealth of knowledge, to be honest with you. And don't take that the wrong way. Because
It's the thick skull; it gives the wrong
man,
impression.
like I'm learning. I've learned, I don't know, 20 different things in a little over an hour. This is great. Like the history lesson and all the details that go into it, man. I'm thankful for that, man. I really am. I think you're a great asset to the church. I really do. I think with your knowledge, like this specific niche knowledge, if you will, I think will help a lot of people.
So
And that, like you said before, we all have our own specialties and charisms. We all have our own voice, different personalities. And yeah, I think many people should maybe consider starting a channel if it's prudent and they have the temperament and all that stuff. So now, please remind me again, when are you expecting to be confirmed?
if all goes like
Easter?
according to plan, and I study how I'm supposed to study and do the things I'm supposed to do along the way, Easter.
Now, how is formation going? I mean, in general.
So because of just like the community size and people's lives in the dynamic, there's like a few people that are catechumens right now. We're mostly studying one-on-one with the teacher who's teaching us our like all the stuff for catechesis. Like by either after church, like we started going like it was after the liturgy on Sunday, but it wasn't very practical, so we're doing like lessons in the evenings with him like on video call, um, every week, like consistently and studying and
Hmm.
yeah, learning a lot there as well. We just had a whole like yesterday, so it's usually Tuesday nights we study with him, and we did like a whole like 2 hours on like salvation and like Old Testament, New Testament, like really getting deep into it and like where things come from, early fathers. We're talking about Saint Anselm and his work.
Nice. Any stumbling blocks, big or small, that you're kind of trying to
I've
work
had a
through?
bunch of stumbling blocks along
Oh,
the way, man.
oh,
Bunch of
okay.
them. Nothing that would put me out of it, but do you know a guy online, Father Jason Sharon?
Yes, that he's Eastern Rite Catholic priest.
Yeah. So he not the same church as us. He's Ukrainian Catholic. I saw one of his videos at a very convenient time.
Yeah.
Um, and he had said something along, and I've spoken to him since then. Really, really, really nice guy. Um, one of those people that's incredibly blunt and forward, but really peaceful and calm, which I very much appreciate. Um, he said in his video something along the lines of people expect the church to be a shining, gleaming yacht sailing beautifully above the ocean waves, but it's not. It's a broken sailboat with tattered sails, and the only reason it is still sailing is because Christ is at the helm. Um, there's been all kinds of problems in the church throughout history, but it's still the church. And that's, for me, that's almost like one of the realizations when I was struggling with things about what the Pope was saying or what popes have done or what certain councils are saying about different things it was always the realization at the end of the day that it's almost like a proof of how effective the guidance of the Holy Spirit for the church is, that all this crap can happen, and yet the church goes on and does the same things and says the same things and teaches the same things, despite all the noise of different individuals who may be even popes.
Right.
Um, so like with that whole thing with Pope Leo talking about like abortion and the death penalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's
Oh,
insane to juxtapose those two things, like, to me.
yeah.
Like, don't mention them in the same sentence. They're unrelated topics. Um, it was incredibly troubling to me, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything about, like, even if he's wrong, let's say, like, even if you do definitively prove that the Pope was wrong to say that. So it's an opinion that's set off the cuff. It has nothing to do with what the claims about the papacy are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whatever else it is about other popes, like, it's like, it doesn't, if anything, it shows that the church is being guided by the Holy Spirit, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
If so I'm taking a class. It's called um, Controversies in Church History. And basically, it just starts with Arius and goes all the way to modernism. All
Not the
the
Council of
crises.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't start with the Council of Jerusalem,
Right.
actually. But
Like extra biblical.
right. But here's what's so interesting to me. We just read about it in passing, like, oh, this heresy, that heresy, this ideology, this war, this, that, just all the stuff that the church has gone through is insanity to me if you really think about it. Like, I mean, go back to Arius in the 4th century,
Right.
or late 3rd, early 4th century. How many Catholic bishops, East and mostly Eastern, but even Western, were Arian bishops? Could you imagine,
Yeah, it's pretty
like,
crazy.
if we like half of our bishops were heretics,
Right.
or like, and think
Some
about,
argue that that's the case.
yeah. Half,
Yeah.
really? I haven't
No.
heard half, but
Well, it
that's
depends. It depends who you ask. If you ask an Eastern Orthodox
oh god,
online
yeah,
apologist.
okay, all right, Eastern Orthodox. But it's just it's just
Well, no, an
it's
Eastern Orthodox online
yeah,
apologist.
yeah. It's just so divine and supernatural to think the church has survived everything for 20 centuries is
Yeah.
mind-boggling. You know what I mean? But yeah. So what else do you got before maybe we open it up to some Q&A and to get a little let our hair down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like in all this, I'm at a point now where with the whole channel and being back on now, and with everything that was said about me while I was down, and like, oh, the most aggressive evangelist, I'm so glad he's gone, and all this, and then what my wife said, like, to your fault, you haven't actually. I've just made the decision that in all my streams now, in all my conversations, it's not gonna, like, if I'm having a conversation with a fellow Jew or a Muslim or whoever else it is, I'm preaching the gospel. No matter how the interaction goes, that's how everything is ending. I'm going to be much more forward and aggressive with it in that sense,
Mhm.
because that's what we all ought to be doing.
Yeah.
And
So
that's one of the first things that was told to me, by the way, at church, is like, you come in, you participate in the liturgy, you receive the Eucharist, and then you go out into the world and take that with you everywhere else, to everyone else.
right. Live the Eucharistic life so everyone can read the gospel by your actions. Absolutely. But so I know some of my members subscribe to your channel, but guys, if you can, so subscribe to Ash. It's at Ash Mays,
And
M-A,
also on Rumble and X.
Rumble and X, but Maiz,
Yeah.
Ash Mays. And then there's that buy me a coffee link in the description if you want to support Ash and his new car purchase.
I
And
appreciate it.
he needs gas. He
Yeah,
needs
exactly.
premium gas in his
Let's
Hummer.
put air in the tires tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
it
a
was a
Hummer, it's a
Buick.
Buick. It's a
That's a
Buick.
Buick. I'm sorry. I forget. I don't know. But I don't know if Retro's still here, but I think you would appreciate this, Ash. He's been with me since day one, but Ash is the GOAT. I could listen to him all day.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you see Retro on your channel?
I think so. Yeah, he comes up in the comments.
Good, good. He's one of my top supporters. He's
I think he's
amazing.
been on some
So
of my live streams also.
oh, good,
Yeah,
good. So yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Um, okay. Thank you for sharing your story. Jesus is Lord God 1-8p. Thank you. Oh, and also Retro, thank you for the super chat. And then Betty, new member. All right. So guys, if you do have questions for Ash, please send them our way. We cannot do a 24-hour live stream tonight. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to disappoint you. Time is money and money is time. But again, guys, we have families and bills. Super chats will be answered first, but I'll take one from my member for sure. Ash, we should talk one-to-one of Caribbean and Jewish relations.
Yeah, I would say send me an email, or you can send it on X, like a direct message. I don't run my X, my wife runs it for me. So I'll post in response to things, but she basically like, hey, what do you want to respond to this? Because I don't want to be on social media. So she's taking care of that for me, but I will respond to whatever I get there. Like she'll bring it to me and let me know, or you can shoot me an email.
Dude, so smart. My editor in the Philippines runs my X account. I don't
Oh,
want to be
really?
on. I don't want to be on that.
That's
So hey,
that's not happening. I'm not going on there.
yeah, great minds think alike. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Ash, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food? Did somebody ask that?
No, I'm asking it.
Oh, I was like, that's an interesting one. It depends on the day. I'm partial to bacon and eggs. That's a good
Oh, dude.
one.
You know, I'm
Man,
not
when I
a.
discovered bacon, I'm like, why were they hiding this from me? There's got to be a conspiracy here.
Yeah, you know, I don't really dig on swine. I just it kind of messes with my central nervous system. I know it sounds weird, but bacon, man, bro, you can eat bacon now.
I was eating bacon long before I became a
Oh,
Christian, though. No, when I left Judaism, I started like and moved to the United States. I was started eating
dude,
bacon then.
what an
But
incentive to convert though if you're a Muslim or a Jew, right?
yeah,
Bacon.
I've been
Oh,
joking with people like, that bacon prevents the mind control lasers from working.
oh, that's funny. Ash, can you suggest any books that have helped your Catholic formation? Very good question. Thank you, Rick, Martle. And guys, please like and subscribe if you can, please. Please. Oh, nice. Old and New Testament. That's a thick. Can you show us the thickness of that thing?
it's the
Wow, you
Catholic
just,
Study Bible.
bro, you handle it like it's just like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
How much do you bench, Ash? That's the real question.
I haven't worked out in forever, unfortunately. Um, there's more kettlebells too, myself.
Kettlebells. Is that
Kettlebells are the
kosher?
best. Kettlebells. But honestly, yeah. First of all, I think that just a Catholic study Bible that actually goes through in Scripture what the church's interpretation of things is really important. There's a book that I'm reading now, which is the Catechism of the Ukrainian Catholic Church. We're not in the Ukrainian Catholic Church, but it's their catechism book. It's called Christ Our Pascha, and
Interesting.
it's really really deep, and it references a lot of Eastern um, philosophy and theology, but it references the Catechism of the Catholic Church as well because it's a Catholic Church, the Ukrainian Catholics. So I would definitely recommend that. I've been reading like little bits and pieces of the Church Fathers just on New Advent. I told somebody the other day like Saint John Chrysostom has been following me around. Like I'll be going to read something else and I'll end up reading Chrysostom. It's just, and then suddenly there'll be an icon of him somewhere. So just ended up reading a lot of Chrysostom, a lot of I fell asleep reading the Didache. I literally fell asleep. First Clement is not easy reading. So it's just like, okay.
St. Justin Martyr's got some good stuff.
I actually haven't read, I don't think any, unless it's like in one of the other books I'm reading. I don't think I've read anything from Justin Martyr.
Yeah. Rick, thank you so much for the $5. It is much appreciated. God bless you.
Oh, Radar's in the chat.
Who's Radar?
Radar Apologetics. He's a Messianic Jewish rabbi. He's a very devout believer and a very cool person.
Sorry,
You should have a conversation with him.
Let me get him on here. Yo, hey Radar. Thanks for coming to see your boy Ash. We love Ash. He's a great asset to the church, and he's going to be converting. Wait, maybe I shouldn't say that. Um, he's going to be converting non-Christians to the church.
Well, Radar is a messianic, like he's a like messianic Jews
Right.
are
They can
like
go to mass and receive the Eucharist, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, what was I thinking of? The Jewish Christians that wear the
That's like the
yarmulkes.
Hebrew Catholics.
Is that what that is? I'm sorry.
There's
I'm
I no,
bro. You know.
I know there's like a group of like culturally Jewish Catholics that are
Mhm.
like have their group. They actually have Cardinal Pizzaballa approved like a Hebrew kind of sort of like a Hebrew rite thing in Israel that's been going on for like Jewish converts to Catholicism in Israel. But Radar's a Messianic Jewish rabbi. It's like very culturally Jewish stuff on the Sabbath, but they're believers in Jesus, Trinitarian Christians. A very cool guy and a great evangelist.
Awesome. Radar.
Yeah,
You sound like a cool guy. So thank you for
he's a
coming
very
on
cool
the
guy.
stream. I really appreciate it. Yeah, good to have you here. And all of my members and subscribers subscribe to Ash Mays, Maiz on YouTube. And then all of Ash's peeps, you know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. We got a $10. Thank you so much, Matthew, my boy, one of my members. Do you think there is an incoherence in some Jewish prayers? Parts of the Amida mention
Yeah.
things that Jesus has done, such as raising the dead.
Right. So it's actually the opposite. So Pharisees and earlier groups of leadership in the Jewish world believed all these things, right? The Messiah is not explicitly written in Scripture. It's a belief that comes through tradition of the Jewish people, um, which is something that modern like Jewish polemicists against Christianity say, well, like that's not about the Messiah. That's not about the Messiah, even though first century rabbis very clearly thought it was about the Messiah, and earlier Jews, Qumran, and so on. I'm just trying to see what was said there. I was trying to follow what
Everything
was going on.
okay?
No, I was just trying. I saw stupid Judaizer in the chat, and I was like, "Who's that in reference to?" Um, but
Behave, kids.
I was like, "That can't be me." Um, yeah, I tell people, by the way, when people are like, "Ash is a Judaizer," I'm like, "Do you know how much of a struggle it is for me? Like, I barely do any Jewish things anymore at all. I do certain like cultural Jewish things, I guess, that are like fun Jewish things to do, but um." Like I struggle with not becoming like black pilled about fellow Jews. Like I do not like Jewish traditions per se anymore. I'm the last like this. It's a struggle to love my fellow Jews daily these days, because of especially the attack that I get. But no, I don't think it's necessarily about me. But essentially, I wanted to bring that up. Like I get called like all kinds of things. Like you're trying to be more Jewish than Catholic or whatever. It's like I really don't want any part of Judaism anymore. I try to distance as much as possible. It's in spite of that that I am still trying to be loving and connected with my fellow Jews. So yeah, there's that. But as far as the prayers, Jews believed in the resurrection of the dead, and when other Jews, there was like fights over it. Like the Pharisees, if you remember in Acts, Paul is like brought before the Sanhedrin, and how does he get out of it? He's like, he tells them, I'm being persecuted for believing in the resurrection of the dead. And all the Pharisees take his side and like attack the Sadducees. Uh, so these are Jewish beliefs about the Messiah, about God, that are then distorted later to filter out what could anything that could look Christian. Jews believe in the resurrection of the dead and always have. Um, that part is authentic. Now there are other things in the Jewish prayers that are a little bit like contradictory and whatever, but essentially most of this is Jewish thought. That's why I say early Jews believed everything about the Messiah and God that Christians do. They just didn't believe in Jesus.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
but yeah,
off.
that was basically the end of it though.
Okay, okay. Because this is a member of mine.
Like
So
Jews rejected Christianity, but they didn't, and rejected Jesus, but they didn't reject the theology of it until much later.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I have to correct Joe Heschmeyer.
So Judas Maccabeus, right?
Yeah.
And the theology of the resurrection of the dead is obviously implied in there, right?
Right.
And
Well, yeah.
the mom and the seven sons,
Right, but
Maccabees.
not only that, I mean, you have like, especially if you consider like Jews today will like we'll talk about Catholics and icons and intercession of saints and all kinds of stuff like that. Like Jews go to grave sites and pray for the intercession of saints till like today. Like it's a very big thing among a lot of Jewish communities. Um, like I used to work in security in Israel and East Jerusalem, and like on the Mount of Olives, you see people all the time going to pray at graves. Um, it's in the Talmud. There's an opinion that's not disagreed with by anyone of a first century rabbi saying on the anniversary of the death of a saintly person, you go to their grave and you pray for intercession.
So I just want to add to that because it's very important. Because if you think about antiquity, right? Judaism, early Christianity, one thing that was ubiquitous and universal was intercession of the saints, but primarily prayers for the dead. I mean, there was no like dispute about that.
No, there was no dispute
I
about
mean,
that.
it's and if you think about it, the apostolic churches, along with our Jewish brothers, we still do that. And no offense to our Protestant brethren, but it's just, the one thing that was more unanimous in early antiquity among Christianity was prayers for the dead because it was liturgically universally accepted. Sorry, go ahead, Ash. I'm
There's a guy in
sorry.
the chat, Joseph de Israel, who's usually in my streams and in my comments. I think he's a pretty nice guy. I just
Oh, hey,
think
Joseph.
he might be Judaizing a little bit, so people are getting mad at him.
Oh, well, okay. Welcome and
But if I
behave.
recall correctly, he's pretty nice and respectful.
Yeah, there's a question from one of my members. Guys, if you want your questions answered, you know what to do. Let's go.
What cultural things that actually? So this is our first Christmas coming up that we will be actually celebrating. Anything Christmassy? Like we've like just holiday spirit stuff over the last few years, but not anything related to Christmas, obviously. Yeah, this year we'll obviously be going to church and participating in everything that our church does, and still learning all about that, like the different culture and traditions. And it's like there's some pretty cool, unique stuff in the Byzantine rite.
Hey, that's awesome.
They already have a Christmas tree up, which is pretty cool.
So I just want to say thank you. I mean, obviously, guys, my members, I love you guys more than anybody. But I do have a special appreciation for the people that come onto the stream that aren't members and that are super chatting.
This is somebody I believe on from one of my viewers.
All right, go. How do we square asking for intercession with Old Testament prohibitions against speaking with the dead? Still confused on that one. I could take that, but go ahead, Ash.
Yeah, the prohibition in the Old Testament. This is the same thing that you can say about like icons and idolatry and anything, or God being a man, right? If you're talking about the deep polemics against Christianity, like you have to look at the nuance of what's actually being said. So, for example, the prohibition against idols is to fashion images of any living creature or thing or object for the purpose of worship. So it doesn't prohibit forming images. It prohibits worshiping them as God.
Right.
Or forming them for that purpose. So whether you worship them in that or whether you form them for that purpose, you're in violation of that prohibition. But an icon is not worshipped as God. It's venerated as the image of a saintly person. It's not worshipped in any way. The distinction would be, I don't know, I forget the words in Greek, but one word that's for, and there's like different levels of it, right? So like when the word for veneration of icons, I think is like
Dulia.
No, but it's even like the one with icons is not even dulia. It's like kissing, like the icon, basically.
Oh,
There's a word for it, but essentially it's showing respect for. There's no worship of. When you're asking, and similarly with intercession of saints, the Old Testament prohibition is against necromancy. It's against raising the dead for the purpose of discerning information or learning something from them or using them for some purpose for personal gains by discerning information from them, asking them questions to be answered, right? Asking for their intercession is not in violation of that prohibition.
Yep.
It's nuanced, but it's a very different thing.
Ash knows his stuff, man. That's good stuff. I don't think I have anything to add to that. I was going to go the necromancy route with
Right.
ascertaining information, hidden things,
Right.
distant things. That's what it's really prohibiting.
The same thing would apply, and people don't realize this. The problem with like, and I say Eastern, I mean like Eastern religions, not Eastern
Right.
Christianity. Um, with like meditating on the mind of God to the extent of like trying to discern like things in that capacity. There's obviously a nuance there if you're a Christian, but that would also be problematic. Like trying to like learn the secret things of God, like trying oneness with God, like that's more problematic, or it's as problematic as idolatry in that capacity. Which is funny because people that would demonize Catholics or Eastern Orthodox for that would not say that like Eastern meditation practices are problematic, but they are incredibly problematic. Like trying to learn the mind of God and becoming one and unified in that way that's not prescribed by the teachings of the church is incredibly problematic.
Yeah, Suzanne, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate you, and I love your little doggy too.
For
Yeah,
whoever's
little
asking,
doggy.
they my channel is back for whoever was worried there in the chat.
Yeah, Ash is back. Guess who's
Unless they
back?
took it
Ash
down
is
again.
back.
No, still there. Okay.
Yeah. Gosh, I was gonna say something to piggyback a little bit, and it just escaped me for the love of son of a gun. Anyways, but yeah,
By the way, something I
Suzanne.
want to add to the intercession thing. So, because you have another super chat there, but what if we
Oh,
don't know where they are? So, to claim that, for example, the Virgin Mary is omniscient, right, in some capacity, in a way that God is omniscient would be problematic, right? But that's not to say that God cannot allow for her to know the prayers of people, right? Those would also be different categories. But as far as like the role of Mary, for example, um, if you look in Jeremiah, I forget exactly the passage, but it talks about the children of Israel being carried off, and it says Beramah. And if you know the culture in Judaism, that word is significant because it's Ramat Rachel. It's like literally the place where Rachel is buried, the wife of Jacob, right? It's literally referring to where she's buried, like her physical tomb. So it's referring to dead mother Rachel who's buried there. Like that's her grave site. Number one, it's not on the way out of Israel when the tribes are being carried away. It's the opposite direction. Um, so they're being carried off, and it says that Rachel is weeping for her children. And this is centuries after she's dead. So it refers to her literally at her grave, weeping for her children. And it's not on the way of where they're actually going. It's not like they passed there necessarily. Um, what's interesting is Rachel is not the matriarch of all of Israel. She's only the mother of two of the tribes. So the mother, who's not the physical, literal mother of Israel, is weeping for her children, is all of Israel, as they're being carried off, and she's long dead at her tomb, being like referenced at her tomb. So this is like a dead mother figure of all of Israel, even though they're not her literal children, weeping for them as they're carried off into captivity and exile. I think that's a very powerful
oh,
indicator of that.
I know what I was gonna say before when I
Yeah.
said it escaped me. So yeah, when it comes to like theosis, that's the East, and deification in the West,
Right.
we don't become like a divine person like the Father,
Right.
Son, and Holy Spirit in
Exactly. It's
essence.
not like in the like the theosis in Eastern religions in that capacity.
Yeah. So it's a participation in the divine nature, but in the order of
Right.
grace, not by nature essence.
Exactly.
Um,
I had a long conversation with somebody about that recently. So I was like
nice.
getting the nuance of it.
Suzanne, thank you. And I was gonna, yeah, like you mentioned it, Ash. So, um, as participating in the divine nature, but in the beatific vision in the glorified state, you have obviously um, levels of participation in the divine attributes. So, for instance, a common objection is like, well, Mary, how can she hear all the prayers of the faithful? Blah blah blah. Well, that's actually not an infinite omniscience, if you will. It's still limited because there are many things that she can't do as a creature. But again, it's in the order of grace.
Right.
Guys, any other questions? Otherwise, I think we're going to have to let Ash get to bed. Well, Ash, you got to smoke your cigar and then. So you
Yeah.
smoke the cigar before bed?
Um, I mean, when I get the chance, like I'm pretty like these days, especially like incredibly busy. I rarely like if my kids are awake, I'm with my kids, unless I'm at work. But like I don't take any like alone time unless like everyone's busy doing other things or asleep. So usually in the evening, I'll sit down, smoke a cigar when I have the chance. If it's before bed, so be it. But yeah,
Okay, here's a question from a member. Ash, what did your Orthodox family react when you made the choice? Great question. I'm glad
yeah.
someone brought that up.
So
Thanks,
without
RJ.
getting too much into private familial stuff, there are some family members that I haven't really spoken to for a very long time. Nothing to do with becoming a Christian. And when I speak to them, it's very just hello, goodbye. How are you doing? You're doing good. Okay. How are your kids doing? Your kids doing good. Okay. That's it. Speak to you next time. It hasn't really come up in conversation with them. Not sure if they know much about what's going on with me in that capacity. The ones who do know, um, like don't really care so much. Doesn't really affect their lives. My dad is just, yeah, exactly.
I'm
Um,
sorry. I don't mean to throw you off.
but like I've had conversations with my dad about it. He's not like overly concerned. He's just more interested to hear what I have to say about it, which is nice when I do talk to him.
Good.
Um,
Is
he's
he
not,
practicing Orthodox Jew?
yeah,
Okay. He
and
observes Sabbath and everything?
yeah, everything.
Nice.
So yeah, my mom and my dad are Orthodox. They're still with like Chabad
Are they in
in
Canada or Israel or?
they're in Canada, and then I have two sisters who are like extremely ultra Orthodox
Mhm.
here in the United States. Um, like really like what you picture as extremely ultra Orthodox, like part of that.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, it doesn't really come up in conversation. It's more like, hey, I haven't spoken to you about how are your kids doing? Oh, you're doing good. Oh, you had another kid? Okay, cool. That's basically it.
Oh, the guy that asked you lives in Canada. Hello, neighbor. Can I borrow some sugar?
Mm.
Come over and borrow
Well, I'm
some
not in
sugar.
Canada now. I haven't been in Canada in
Oh yeah, sorry. I
I haven't lived in Canada in over 12 years, I think now.
Yeah. We'll take the Canucks. You guys
Yeah.
can come down and hang out with us.
I've never been a hockey fan.
We love the Canucks. Isn't that what the Canadians are called though? You're like you
Yeah.
if you
I
yeah.
think that more refers to people from Vancouver, doesn't it?
I have no idea. I just thought Canadians, any Canadian that
Oh, I
lives
actually
there is
didn't know
from
that.
there's
I
a
thought that was
Canuck.
people from Vancouver.
Well, that's their hockey team, but I think
Okay.
it's more like of a cultural
Yeah.
demographic thing.
I
I
was
don't
never
know.
really in like I was never really embedded in Canadian culture.
Mhm.
Um I was like always part of the Jewish community more so than anything else. But
Right on.
yeah.
Anything else, guys? Ash needs his beauty sleep and his cigars. You know, I got a cigar from a cigar shop. I wanted to give it a whirl.
Yeah. How'd that go?
I think it was just not a good cigar. I spent like $20 on it.
What cigar was it?
Oh gosh. Oh, you dude, you told me on one of my live streams. It starts with a P, Patron or something? Padomo?
Pa-
Padermo?
Padron or Patron? Patron is a tequila. Um,
Dude,
Padron,
I
or
smoked tequila.
yeah, there was a Padron, which is like a pretty expensive cigar brand, and then Perdomo. But I think
Padron.
you said Padron, right? Yeah, those
I
are good cigars. Maybe you got it from a bad shop.
I don't know,
Doesn't
man, but
humidify
like
properly. It takes some getting used to. I mean, it's not just like,
yeah.
but
Oh, here we got another. Guys, keep them coming. I got to I set the goal at 30 super chats. I don't think we're going to get there. But that's okay.
let's try to hit it. Let's keep
Oh,
we can keep going.
oh gosh. Matthew, thank you again. At the Annunciation, when Mary asked how she would become pregnant since she has no relations with man, would she have been aware of the prophecy of Isaiah where the word Alma is ambiguous? Alma? Is that Hebrew?
So yeah, so
Okay.
the stance of the Jewish apologist is that the word that in the Septuagint is rendered virgin is in Hebrew alma, which just means a young woman. It doesn't mean virgin.
Mm.
The problem is that the Septuagint translators were Jews who translated it into Greek as virgin, because the implication of that word is a young woman who's unmarried and a virgin. In
Mm.
fact, it's only used in that capacity throughout the Bible to mean a virgin young woman, except in one place where it's poetic. In fact, the word for virgin in Hebrew, betula, is actually used to reference a woman who's married and widowed at some point. So it actually makes more sense that Alma is specifically referencing a virgin. Everyone would have assumed that or known that. That's very clear.
Oh my! I'm just like so in amazement at the knowledge you have. I had no idea,
I
Ash.
struggled through these things because I heard all these arguments, and I'm like, which ones are good arguments and which ones are bad arguments, and I'm sorting
Well,
through them.
it helps though having Jewish roots and being fluent
Yeah. Oh,
Jewish,
that's a
right? The
blessing.
language.
Like coming from a Jewish background, as much as it's like I would have, maybe in a different life grown up as a Catholic, and no, I think it's better that I came to it this way.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Have you read The Jewish Roots of the Eucharist by
I have not. No,
I have it somewhere. Hold on.
I haven't. That's the funny thing. People are like, "Oh, you must have read such and such. You must have read such and such." They're like, because you're a Jew becoming Catholic. Like, I actually haven't touched any of the books that are like the Jewish Catholic books.
Okay, I lied. I straight up lied. I don't know where they are. They're somewhere. Anyways, but it's a good book. It traces the lineage of the Eucharistic sacrifice and Holy Communion back to the really, Melchizedek and
Right.
the offering of the bread and the wine. I mean, that's the typology that prophesies and foreshadows
I
the
was talking
Eucharistic
to
sacrifice.
William Albrecht about that the other day on one of his streams. We were chatting about it.
We love William.
Yeah, William's a cool dude.
He and I he helped me on prepping me for my debate purgatory
He's a good dude.
or my purgatory debate. I'm sober, I promise.
He's a good dude. And yeah, when people ask about bench press, he's the one that you need to like. He's the apologist who bench presses.
No, he does. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can bench press a car, a Buick.
Yeah.
Anything else, kiddos?
You want to hear something cool while we're at it?
I
Maybe
do.
Maybe if who wants to hear something about how Jewish literature validates the writings of Paul?
Oh, that would be
Anyone
cool.
want to send a super
Well,
chat
someone's
for
got
that
to
one?
pay for it.
Yeah,
Ash,
somebody's got to pay
someone's
for
got
it.
to. Yeah, Ash. I
Somebody's
mean,
I'm not
dude,
getting paid for it. It's for Eric.
I'll split it with you. It's
Yeah.
Jewish heritage, man. It's in your blood, right?
Yeah.
Or is that too much? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I used to joke when I started streaming that I would use the free version of Restream, and the fact that the logos can tell you that I'm a real Jew because I won't pay for the full version of the software.
See, Ash and I are cool. We can
Yeah.
kind of poke fun at each other in that.
I don't do Jew Holocaust oven jokes. I don't do that. Yeah.
Oh my, dude.
That's where I'm like, you're a terrible person. I don't know why that's funny to you, but
Yeah. That's a great question. RJ in the house.
in Matthew 23.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Is he going to pay for it? Okay, maybe I'll go into it either way.
Well, I think
somebody else can send a super chat.
To RJ's defense,
Yeah.
I think he's a younger guy.
Okay, yeah.
From, was it Haiti? No, it's in the Caribbean. And no, he's in Toronto, but he was born in St. Lucia or something. I don't know.
So Matthew 23, a lot of people bring this up. Even Jesus said that the rabbis have authority and that they're the authentic, continuation of Moses. Unfortunately, that's nothing like what is said in Matthew 23. You have to kind of read the rest of the chapter past verse 2 if you want to get the full picture. But first of all, there are some people that point out that Moses' seat could literally be referring to a seat that rabbis sit in during that time period. Like there was a Moses seat that you teach from. You got this guy, the IJP Mexican, is one of my viewers saying hi.
Hey, buddy, subscribe to my channel. We love
absolutely.
Ash.
And so Jesus says to the Pharisees, to the people, listen to the Pharisees, to what they say and not what they do, for they sit in the seat of Moses. Right? So people say, well, you see, Jesus said it. Jesus must have been a great rabbi who affirmed that the rabbis are the authentic continuation, and then it was distorted by people later on. Well, first of all, if I understand correctly, the Greek is that they have sat themselves down in the seat of Moses. It's an accusation. It's not It's not a granting of authority. But also, what he's saying is listen to what they say when they're teaching the law of Moses, which was still the covenant that was in effect for the Jewish people at the time. Um, but there you go. But it's literally when the Pharisees are teaching the law of Moses, listen to what they say, but don't do what they do. And also, by the way, they're a bunch of brood of vipers and hypocrites and whitewashed tombs. And if you follow what they do, like their customs that they bind these burdens that are heavy to follow, if you listen to those things and you follow them in that, they will make you twice as much a son of hell as they are. They will cross the rivers to make one proselyte and make him a son of hell. So he's also accusing them of converting people to a new religion that's not the true religion. So if you actually read Matthew 23 in context, it's not affirming the authority of rabbis. It's saying, hey, by the way, the law of Moses is a good thing to learn. So when they're teaching that, because they're experts on it, listen to them. But none of the other rabbinic stuff that they've made up, none of the other burdens that are too heavy to bear, none of the other nonsense that they do that makes them hypocrites.
Man, Ash knows his stuff. I love it. Man, this is a great asset to have when we're getting to the Jewish context, guys. It's so important because Jesus and the apostles were Jews, you know? I mean, it's just, oh, here we go. Not sure if this was
I still
acid.
have not read Revelation, and several epistles I haven't gotten to yet. So it's certain things that I know about.
Sure. Is the Mourner's Kaddish the Jewish example of prayers of the dead, and did that go back into the Old Testament?
So that's on the flip side. That's more like praying for the dead. Like, and by the way, so the Jewish view on hell today. There's in early Jewish literature, there's eternal damnation for certain groups of people. There's purgatory for others. This all is part of first century Judaism, if not earlier. The mourner's kaddish is like to elevate the soul of the dead person so that they could be granted, to be in heaven, basically. It's praying for their well-being as opposed to praying for their intercession. But the Jewish view on hell today is like all purgatory. There's no like real hell. But in early Jewish literature, there's hell and purgatory, essentially. Like there's a punishment for a certain amount of time. There's some that are eternally damned. Those being Sadducees and people that deny the resurrection of the dead, and Christians. So there's that. But yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah, prayers
7
for the dead. Yeah, prayers for the dead, essentially.
Appreciate your super chat and your generosity and your support. We love you. Guys, anything else? My eyes are burning. I have glaucoma. No, I don't. I have something.
Glaucoma's no joke, man.
No. Yeah. Well, Ash, I'm glad you got your channel back. So here's the thing, right? My worst fear is waking up and my channel's gone. It's just gone. So when you told me that your channel was, I don't know, deleted, taken down, or whatever, I'm just like,
yeah.
What about all those videos and shorts and and it's like just gone, and then it almost was like reinstated, right, where it left off. That's a blessing.
Right. Yeah, you should get your audience following you on other things just in case.
So my wife constantly tells me you need to get an email list of all your members and subscribers, because what if? Have a backup. I have most of my videos downloaded and whatever.
What you should do is, I was thinking of doing this, on topic for what you know well, put together like a free guide to something, get people to subscribe for that, like email for the free guide for whatever it is.
That's a great idea.
That's what I was told. I'm probably going to do that at some point.
Bro, do you want to be my manager?
Be your manager?
My kosher manager.
I don't have time for that. No, but then people are going to accuse you of having a Jewish handler, man.
Dude, I use kosher salt, man, on my food. I'm not lying.
I do. 7,000 shekel.
I
tell
can
you what to post.
I understand the joke behind that, but I wouldn't mind. Okay, one more question. RJ, it's because I love you. During the Old Covenant, what happened to the Gentiles that died? Were my ancestors doomed?
So I'm going to try to be careful here because I don't want to speak on behalf of like church doctrine that I'm not an expert on. but I'm going to try to get into what I was, because this came up in a conversation with my catechesis teacher yesterday, who's a seminarian. The work of the cross is not limited to time. There's a famous icon of Christ like pulling Adam and Eve and other righteous people from the past out of hell, basically, at the resurrection. So the way that I understand it is that, first of all, the covenant with Israel, as far as the old covenant, was and I've actually talked about this from a philosophical perspective, how believing that there's literally a covenant for one people that is eternal is contrary to logic, as far as logic of the arguments for the existence of God. But essentially, it's not.
Sorry, Ash.
Yeah, I was going to say, essentially, the idea is, first of all, the church does not pass judgment in that capacity, that we can assume that anyone is damned, because the church is the, what is it, the word normative? Is that Eric?
Sorry, I was, I was reading Romans 2. Sorry.
The church and the sacraments is the normative means of salvation.
The ordinary normative means, but
it's not that God is limited to who he can save. And so people that were before the resurrection, the work of at the cross is eternal. What is it in? Is it in Philippians where or is it's in Revelation, and then it's in Philippians? There's something about the lamb that was slain before there was
Revelation.
Yeah, crucified before the foundation of the earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't assume that anyone prior during that time is damned.
So just to piggyback on Ash, so Romans,
and again, that's my telling you what I learned yesterday with a seminarian that I was studying with.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try to pretend to be a Catholic theologian here in any capacity.
So I think the best scripture to appeal to in answering that question is Romans 2 on the judgment of God. So St. Paul makes a clear distinction here between Jew and the Greek. That's just another way for saying Jew and the Gentile, right? In this context. And so God's going to render to every man, not just to the Jew, but according to his works. Okay. So to those who by patience and well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, he will give eternal life. He doesn't say just to Jews. Again, but that would be the ordinary, shoot. But here, where it says, for it is not the hearers of the law who are righteous before God, but the doers of the law who will be justified. Now, he says, when Gentiles who do not have the law, he's talking about the Mosaic law, okay, not the natural law, the Mosaic law, because Jews, had the privilege of the oracles and the law of Moses. When Gentiles who not have the law do by the natural law, or by nature what the law requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the Mosaic law. They show that what the law requires is written on their hearts. That's the natural law, while their conscience also bears witness, and their conflicting thoughts accuse or perhaps excuse them on that day, judgment day, when according to notice he says my gospel. Wow. Talk about narcissism, Paul. You mean Christ, God? No, I'm just kidding. God judges the secrets men by Christ Jesus. So no, not every Gentile, even before Christ, went to hell or whatever you want to say, because they will be judged by their conscience and the natural law accordingly, apart from the law of Moses and the oracles given to the Jewish people. But I think I'm going to have to get going here, unless we have some super chats, because my eyes are going to fall out of my skull.
Guys, give Eric 1 or 2 more super chats, guys.
Yeah, make him like $100. Just kidding. If you're going to do that, let me get the PayPal link, so I get like 95% of it. I don't want YouTube getting
Do you have a buy me a coffee?
I don't. Is there some something I'm missing out on?
Yeah, buy me a coffee is cool. You can even
sell me on it, Ash.
I think that they take a lot less than almost anything else. It's really easy to use. You can make like a custom page. I think you can even do memberships there. And if you have one of the streaming softwares, like that's why I was trying to get like that's why I'm gonna set up Ecamm, because you can do like a browser source thing, and then if somebody donates to you on your Buy Me a Coffee, you can have a little thing that pops up on the screen that, from their um, tribute.
Sold. I'm
Yeah.
sold. I think Ash has a side hustle. He's a marketing agent for Buy Me a Coffee. Dude, he totally sold me. I
I
just
wish,
bought it.
man. I wish.
Bro, I just totally bought what he was
Yeah. I
selling.
should I should do that. I should try to find ways to monetize things.
Suzanne, where did you come from? We love having you around here. On Calvinism, might appreciate Mahler's Truth Cartel, 3 parts on free will, especially the last 4 to 5 minutes on Aquinas. I don't know. Ash, you got anything on that?
I don't know what that is, but I can look into it. I want to so as much as I love the Apologia guys, like I really think they're great people.
Sure. Now, when you say
coming-
Apologia guys, you don't mean just Jeff Durbin, but you mean
No, I mean James White. I mean everyone. Like they're good people, I think.
Okay.
Whatever issues with Catholics or whatever else it is, I think those are people that really care to help people overall and do the right thing. Isn't James White, isn't the joke that he's like the greatest Catholic apologist?
Yeah, that is the running joke.
But essentially, when I first started studying different groups of Christianity, and by the way, I mean, only, what is it, I started going to church in June, like made the decision to do that. So it's like not been that long that I'm like officially a Christian. Not long before that I even believed in any capacity, but I've been studying and discerning about this for a number of years now. The first thing that I understood to be, how do I put this? A no-go for me was Calvinism. Understanding, coming from a Jewish background, the things that Jews say about covenantal nature and theology and saved people and so on. To me, I came to understand as I dove into it that it violates the fundamental understanding of God's nature, of morality and ethics and wisdom that is presented to the world. I think Calvinism falls into the same issue. It would, the arguments for the existence of God posit certain natural conclusions that you can come to about the nature of God that would not fit a Calvinist worldview or a Jewish worldview. Certain like exclusive covenantal worldviews, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not at the right state of mind to. Oh, okay, Suzanne, just keep them coming. No, Calvin, not
no,
Calvin.
I didn't think you were a Calvinist. It was just addressing that. Yeah.
Sorry for turning off my light, guys. It was just bothering me. I have glaucoma. I have medicinal, you know what, for my glaucoma. No,
that's why I don't use bright lights. I just turn the ISO on the camera higher.
Wait, what's the ISO? What?
Like the sensitivity to light of the camera, because I use a DSLR.
Bro, you got to tell me your secrets for real. Dude, like I don't like
I don't have good lighting because of that. It's just,
I think you do.
Right.
Yeah. I got some new peeps in here. Are these your guys coming in here? Like,
yeah.
Guys, welcome to the Catholic Christian channel.
Subscribe to Eric. He's a good dude and he does a lot of good work.
Thanks, Ash. Appreciate that.
Become members if you can.
Yeah, appreciate that.
He does cool member streams.
Bro said, "What's the ISO?" Ha ha ha. I'm a boomer. I don't know. I don't do cameras, man. My wife had to teach me how to even turn it on. Not turn it on, but get it to the USB streaming and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So Ash, any last words, comments, questions, concerns? Everything's going well though in your formation, yeah?
Yeah, can I share a prayer with you that I've been praying?
Of course.
One that I talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
Let me pull it up on my phone.
Yeah.
I like to read everything.
I remember Ash coming on some of my streams, and he was the only one, not to denigrate anybody else, he was the only one that said, say a prayer, say a Hail Mary, pray, like right now. One of the only people to ever do that. And that says a lot because prayer is everything.
So because we were talking about the YouTube channel and people that literally attacked me, basically, in more ways than one, because it goes beyond just the channel thing. this is something that I've been doing for a while now. It's one of the first prayers that I picked up, but it's the prayer for one's enemies, just because in talking about people demonizing you or attacking you and the stuff that does go on, I think it's important to finish with this. So this is from the Byzantine like publican's prayer book. There's no given date for like when this prayer originates, but it's very, very old. I think originally in Greek. But okay, so Lord Jesus Christ, who commanded us to love our enemies and those who insult and injure us, and to pray for them and forgive them, who you yourself prayed for your enemies who crucified you. Grant us, we pray, the spirit of Christian meekness, that we may heartily forgive every insult and injury, and be reconciled in our hearts with our enemies. Grant us to overcome the malevolence and offenses of people with Christian gentleness and true neighborly love. We further beseech you, O Lord, to grant to our enemies peace and forgiveness of their sins, and do not allow them to leave this life without true faith and sincere conversion. And help us to repay evil with goodness, and to remain safe from all the temptations of the devil, and from the perils that threaten us in the form of visible and invisible enemies, that we may give glory to you and to your eternal Father, and to your all holy and life-giving Spirit, now and always and forever. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. You know, we were just talking about love for enemies is really the highest expectation of a Christian. I mean, Fulton Sheen would always say, if you want to be able to identify who a real or true Christian or whatever, do they love their enemies genuinely from the heart? I mean, that's really what we're called to, because the context of that in Matthew 5 is perfection of charity. You know, when Christ says, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Well, what do you mean perfect? A degree of charity in your heart to where you will love your enemy truly, sincerely from your heart. To be able to see Christ in those people who revile, blaspheme, or attack you and all that stuff. To be able to, will the good of your enemy, to desire their salvation. That's what it's all about, my friends.
It's one of the tough ones.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I shouldn't say this, but I mean, why is it like that your enemies are usually the people who live with you? Sorry. I know it sounds really bad. I don't know. Like, or the people that are closest to you, you know?
Yeah, like, speak for yourself, man.
Family, friends, spouses. Like, these aren't supposed to be my enemies, and they're the hardest ones to love. But, you know, the guy at the supermarket who cusses me out for being a Catholic, bro, I could, dude, I'll take that dude out for a beer and we'll chit chat and have fun, and I'll love the dude. But my gosh, when it comes to family and friends that are close to me, oh, it's so hard.
I was just thinking back to because of that, to an old conversation I had with a good friend of mine and mentor. A lot of that is the expectations we set for people and what we expect out of them. So he said, he was talking to me and another friend. He said, like, the expectation, like, if you say you don't have expectations from your wife, right? Like, you're lying. Like, you're absolutely lying.
Of course.
But the expectation is not that your wife will never hurt you or be mean to you or say something that hurts you or causes you trouble in some way. It's that you expect that they will care for you in a capacity of not trying to do that to you and not do it too much, right? They're human beings at the end of the day. We're all human beings, and we're all guilty of the exact same things at the end of the day. So it's a lot of the time is the expectations that we set for the people that we love, for the people closest to us. We have such a high degree of expectation that when that's not met, we don't have the charity towards them that we would have for somebody that we expect less of. But we have to put that in context, and it's like, well, yeah, you expect more of them, you know, but you also have to give them the greater level of charity then, because there's all that more to cover, right?
That's so well said, and it's so true. And the context of the fact that you're with them almost all day, every day. You know what I mean? So there's that different element than someone that, you know, might frustrate or annoy you here and there. That's easier to love, or that person's easier to love in that sense. Right. But I wanted to, the Joy Vila show. Jesus, so good. Thank you, gentlemen, for this convo. You are so welcome. And I've seen you comment on some of my videos, and I appreciate your comments. So it's good to have you. And guys, I'm sorry, but my eyes are literally falling out of my head. And Ash needs his beauty sleep. He needs to smoke his Cuban cigar. Where do you get your Cubans,
I don't
bro?
smoke Cuban cigars. Even if I could smoke Cuban cigars, I wouldn't.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
there's that.
I'll tell you about that one day. We'll have a whole stream on cigars if you want.
Oh gosh, yeah. I need to get a good cigar. And I went up to, sorry, this is the last thing. I went up to Minnesota, that's where I'm from, to hang out with my family, my brother, my dad, all that stuff. And my brother's got a hot tub. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't drink. I don't smoke meth, whatever. I don't do anything. So like, dude, I gotta get a cigar because he's got a hot tub. I'm gonna do the whole Tony Montana. If you remember the scene where he's in the hot tub with a cigar watching the pelicans fly or the flamingos. Bro, I gotta do that. And I got the cigar and I was smoking it and it was all right, but God, it messed me up somehow. But
yeah, cigars are like, if you don't know this is something that's like, if you don't know the leaf types and what they're using and the strength of cigar, like the amount of nicotine that you could be taking in like one sitting,
oh,
yeah, it could put you on your rear end.
bro. Bro, I didn't even, dude. See, I'm a boomer. I need to know this stuff. Ash, thank you for all your wisdom. You're like
there's a lot of Catholics that smoke cigars. You should
I
gotta have
know.
at
Yeah,
least some in your church.
it's like
for
a
sure.
cultural thing, man. It's like if you don't smoke a cigar, you're not masculine. You're not a true masculine Catholic.
Right.
Whatever. That's fine.
I'm waiting on getting some of Michael Knowles' cigar brand. I still haven't tried them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to support that millionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeps. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, those look like good cigars, and I want to try them, but they're really expensive.
Yeah. No, I feel it, guys. Thank you. Well, thank you, Ash, so much for taking the time out of your night to be with us. Again, I'm just saying this because it's the truth. I didn't know you were so knowledgeable. I mean, we had our moments or we had our talks or, here and there. And I'm just, wow. I'm amazing. Just amazing. I think your channel is going to blow up even more.
The truth is on that, though, I do want to add just one more thing to that, because I don't want to give the wrong impression. And this is advice for anyone who, just in life in general. The reason I appear knowledgeable is because I only talk about things that I know about, and I don't pretend to know things that I don't know. A lot of people talk out of their rear end, and so they end up looking really stupid, even though they're smart people. Like I said, when somebody asks a question that's about like Catholic theology, I'm not a Catholic apologist. Here's what I learned yesterday, by the way, but I'm not going to pretend to answer that question. I don't know the answer for you.
That's called self-knowledge and humility. Because guys, humility is truth. It's knowing yourself. It's knowing your strengths, what you're really good at, what you're knowledgeable about. But it also is about knowing what you don't know and not pretending under a guise, right, that you're just going to wing something. That's humility.
Yep.
We all need humility. All right, guys. Ash, anything else? I'm going to close her down. Guys, thank you for the super chats. We got Jesus Lord God. Thank you so much. Retro, thank you. Rick Martell, thank you. Canticum Matthew, thank you. Suzanne, thank you. Seven Spent, thank you. Thank you, guys. And most importantly, thank you, Ash.
St. Paul there for a minute.
Look at St. Paul, dude. Is that Ecamm? Are you using Ecamm?
No, that's using OBS as an overlay because I had it set up already. I haven't messed with Ecamm yet. I just have like a basic scene set up.
Bro,
I'm going to stream probably the weekend with Ecamm and see how it goes.
I got to get on that bandwagon for real.
You have Mac? Because Ecamm is Mac only.
No.
Yeah.
Well, no, I do. I have a Air Pro laptop.
Yeah, that'll work.
Whatever. But I'm on a PC right now. And yeah. Oh, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Wow. Yeah. It's the vigil. Ash, I don't know. I'm not going to ask how old you are, but I'm 42. So when I was in college and after college in my 20s, 20 years ago, you know what the biggest, most popular drinking alcohol night in the country was? Besides New Year's Eve. Okay, so that's number one.
Thanksgiving Eve.
The night before Thanksgiving. So everyone's in college. Everyone comes home for Thanksgiving and just gets ridiculously, you know what. Anyways, so yeah, guys, drink in moderation and remember to neuter and spade your pets, okay? So right. Ash, man, let's do this again sometime,
Yeah.
man. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Really did. I learned so much. Honestly, I did.
Thank you for having
Man,
me on. It
yeah,
was a lot of fun.
appreciate you. And all my members and subscribers, please like the stream. Those who aren't subscribed, please subscribe. And also, please subscribe to Ash's channel, Ash Maiz, Maiz. Buy me a coffee, link in the description. Thank you, guys. God bless. Praise be Jesus and Mary.